Knock yourself out.
Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Yes! Oh, I like it.
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday, the 21st of July. Thanks so much for being with us on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream this show every day, millerandmoulton.com. That's where you can go for our daily poll question. It's where you can go if you miss any part of the show and you want to download it as part of our Connecticut cast, where every hour of the show gets its own podcast. We're broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Sign up for them. We would appreciate it. And then we could interact during the show and you could see what we look like, whether or not we've showered and, you know, all that sort of thing for the morning soiree.
Ooh, can you tell that from looking in?
I think you can.
Huh.
I think you can.
All right.
Maybe not.
I'm not giving it away then.
Okay.
I'm going to let the people inside the chat room decide how clean I am this morning.
479-5551 is how you can also contact us by calling or texting in on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551. Mark, top of the morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Solid Monday. Watched. Well, apparently we did the same thing yesterday for a while, because I sent you a text. One, I was a very active texter yesterday.
Oh, my goodness.
And no one was with me. No one. I was on an island yesterday.
Oh, my goodness. Somebody had a meal they haven't had in a long time. Somebody took a nap. Somebody had a Snickers. Something happened yesterday.
And what's interesting, David, none of those things happened. I was simply cleaning the house yesterday. That was and I didn't finish because some other life got in the way a little bit. But more importantly, when I was taking a break for lunch with the daughter, I flipped on the television and I had the news on before she came down. And the minute she comes down, I just put it on something else because there's no need for her to be subjected to the news.
Right. It's bad enough that we subject ourselves to it. There's no need to put it on for the 6-year-old right now.
Thank you. So I go to the sports mix, and then I went to the NHL network. And lo and behold, one of my complaints of all of the networks during the pandemic is they show us classic games from 2018. If you're going to show me a classic game, show me a classic game. And the NHL network I've always found to be the worst at giving you a game from 2 years ago and telling you how great it is. And all of the sudden, I have Flyers Canadians from 1976 on. It was over because then we had Canadians Bruins, followed by more Canadians Bruins. It was 6 hours of bliss. Hockey night in Canada from the 70s.
The NHL Network, part of their off-season programming, they have always shown cup clinchers. So the final game of the Stanley Cup Finals for each particular year. So whether the series goes 4, 5, 6, or 7, that is the game that they show. And they go in chronological order. And so I picked it up late second period, Game 6, 75 finals, Flyers and Sabres in Buffalo, in the odd in Buffalo, thank you very much, in which the Flyers lead the series 3-2, and Game 6 was scoreless, late second. That's where I picked up NHL Network programming yesterday.
Yeah, David and I geeked out on 70s hockey yesterday.
We did. And it's funny how different the game is. It's funny how different the broadcasts are. I'll tell you what, the screen is very clean. There ain't a damn thing on it.
Nope.
Nothing.
Nope, nothing on the boards either. Nothing on the ice.
No.
Although by the third game or second game, there was a United Way in-ice logo in the Boston Garden. So as opposed to making money off the logo, they did it for a charity.
Now, the only thing I wish they would show us, which they don't, is they don't show us any of the in-between the periods. Because back in the day, in the 70s in particular, they do a little hockey skills contest, all right, in which they would put the, almost like the plates in the four corners of the net, and they would have players shoot at them and this sort of deal. And I remember that for a couple years of watching Rangers games in the mid to late 70s, and I found that more entertaining than the Rangers of that time. Because in the mid-70s, they weren't very good.
Look, if they were going to give us Peter Puck, we would have all been giddy with childlike bliss from that. But, yes, David and I geeked out on 70s hockey yesterday while I was cleaning the house, and all of a sudden I would stop and there would be a power play. And I'm watching Larry Robinson and Serge Savard feed Guy Lafleur. Yes, I know I've alienated 90% of our audience right now, but I don't care because that might be why I was texting so much, because I was just happy all darn day.
It was enjoyable to see how few players had helmets on.
Right.
And how they were all out there without helmets. Also to see how little of the goal that the goalies actually took up with their equipment. Their equipment was much more in line with like late 70s, 1980s catchers equipment, in which the shin guards barely covered the shins. The chest protector kind of sort of covered your upper body, maybe. Hopefully you didn't angle yourself when the ball came in. So maybe the chest protector will catch this foul ball. Maybe.
Don Cherry's collars were not nearly as wide while coaching the Bruins as they became when he started working Hockey Night in Canada.
Right. The ties were every bit as wide as the collars, and they were not as flowery, not as colorful.
One of the things I found interesting is they're showing the Bruins the one game, and they do a cutaway shot to the crowd, and it's Don Awrey. Now, Don Awrey played in the 72 Summit Series. He played with the Bruins. He was picked up in the expansion draft by the Blues. And he was back in Boston watching the game, and I just kind of got a kick out of it. Don Awrey, for years, was an off-ice official here with the Everblades. Ended up making Southwest Florida his home. At one of the games, Chico Resch was at the game, and they interview him in between periods. The analyst did the interview, not the play-by-play guy, which very different than what we see today, because the analyst, well, he was breaking down the two teams' power plays of the Flyers and the Canadiens. It was just the watch. I think that's maybe David and I geeking out, because we're watching the broadcast just noticing how completely different it is. And there would be a penalty, and the Hockey Night in Canada guy couldn't get it to break fast enough. Game 6 in the Stanley Cup Finals, 3-3 the score. You're watching Hockey Night in Canada.
I don't know how many people have been watching the golf, but summer PGA Tour golf, there's a decent chance you're going to get a rain delay of some kind. I mean, it's tough to go 4 rounds during the summer with no rain delay, and particularly on the weekend, and certainly in Ohio. I mean, that's the joke about Jack's tournament. It's Jack's tournament, it's going to rain. Doesn't matter when they played it. When they played it Memorial Day weekend, when they play it after Memorial Day weekend, or even now when they move it to mid-July. Jack's tournament, it's going to rain. And I find it enjoyable, a bit geeky, that they'll show highlights from a previous year. And so some of the rain delay golf they showed on Sunday was the 2013 Memorial. That's only 7 years ago. But Peter Costas is on the broadcast. David Faraday is on the broadcast. All right. And Faraday's cohort in crime, Gary McCord, are all on the broadcast. And in fact, if half of the broadcast are people who are no longer a part of CBS's golf team. The graphics are different. Also, you go back 7 years ago, there was no shot track, things like that. And so you watch it, and to me, you make a quick, if you give it a segment, you give it a 15-minute deal before they go to break. I think as viewer, you almost decide whether or not you like the current broadcasters more than the old broadcasters, and also whether or not you like golf coverage. How quickly have you adjusted to Shot Tracker? That if you see golf without it, you're like, hey, where's the ball? Well, what's it doing?
They don't use it on every hole, so that's not one I'm never given a lot of thought. I love Shot Tracker when they show it, but I don't need it. But I think your point about the announcers, that, we've had a plethora of texts since we've come back and since sports have come back, or since golf has come back, of just people with lackluster thoughts of the coverage because there's not a lot of personality on the course anymore.
No, not at all. Not at all. And the way with those guys in particular is they almost did golf like a baseball game. They just kind of had a bit of a running commentary through it, and then they would stop and go, John Rahm 2nd and 15th, Gary, getting back to what we were talking about a moment ago. I mean, it's almost like the Coca-Cola 600.
It was
where the race is so long that DW and Larry Mack could just talk. They could talk. I mean, what's the difference if 5 laps go by? Mike Joy would go, by the way, in the last 8 minutes, nothing's changed. Jeff Gordon is still leading.
You're on to something there, because that's what, and if, again, you always say styles make a fight. Well, styles make a broadcast. Not everybody likes our Vin Scully story for an hour. We do.
Right.
Doesn't mean everybody does.
Correct.
A couple of things happened yesterday. I know David will get to some in the starting 5, but as David has pressed on about, we're playing football. David has maintained that we're playing football sooner than later. And the NFL and the NFLPA, well, they got done what they needed to get done to get camp opened. I didn't think it needed to take as long as it did, but for whatever reason it did, they're set.
Mark, you know how I look at leagues and players? They're like us with exams. How many people studied early? I mean, don't you need the deadline of, hey, the exam's tomorrow morning? I better study then. I haven't done much of that. I think, we like to give these billion-dollar industries and the people in them, we give them maybe more credit than they deserve. Mark, in this sense, I think they're just like us, only with a lot more zeros in their bank account. They need a deadline. They're not going to do a whole heck of a lot. What time? When's the exam? The 19th?
At what time?
What's not, today? The 8th?
David, it's not even.
Whatever.
It's not even the 19th. It's what time on the 19th?
Right.
It certainly seems. Oh, it's 3 o'clock, so we've got the morning of the 19th to do it. Oh, great.
Just so you know, rookies are reporting today. Really? Well, then we should probably talk. I haven't called those guys back in weeks. What were they tweeting about last week and over the weekend? Man, they seem upset about something. We're not even paying attention to what they're upset about. So, yeah, it's funny how that works. Deadline. Oh, then maybe we should negotiate. Here's the other thing, Mark. Not to be overly simplistic, which sometimes I can be. Usually I'm not, but sometimes I say, why can't we do this in 6 minutes on a bar napkin? I mean, some of this stuff, how are you really going to argue over testing? I mean, listen, for as much as the owners don't like to acknowledge this just in. They need the players. If the players don't play, they got problems.
It seems to be the labor seems to be a key part of this equation, David.
It does. Now, once they get them to sign, they can go back to not giving a damn about them. But, when they're sitting there going, guys, if we don't get tested, we're not going to play. That seems like a problem. Really? You're not going to play? And you guys seem serious about this. Well,
I guess we'll test every day then. They want to test every day. It's going to cost us another $800,000. All right. Whatever the number is.
All right. I guess this $15 billion industry is going to have to pony up for a few more tests.
And, David, if the NFL said they can start camp on time, well, then, damn it, the Florida High School State Athletic Association says we'll start on time, too.
Is that what they said?
Yes, David, they did. I had sent a text. You and I and John were texting yesterday because we knew this was a big story, and we were going to cover it today. This was. We don't go local that often.
No.
But the Florida High School State Athletic Association, I really need to come up with a name for them.
You mean FHSAA is not working for you?
Well, they're imbeciles.
Wow.
And not just because of today.
Oh my goodness, I haven't felt this close to you in years. Oh my goodness.
Not just because of today, but there is a long history of imbecile behavior from this group. In fact,
keep talking dirty to me. Oh my goodness.
In fact, they are such a pathetic organization that I believe the NCAA has more status in running sports than the Florida High School Athletic Association does.
Wow. I just want to reach through and give you a hug right now.
It might be because we got the college football magazines yesterday, but that was recommended not to start football and volleyball on time. I sent you that text at 5:41. This was as the meeting was going on, and I thought when I saw that tweet, I'm like, okay, we're going to push this sucker back a little bit. No such luck. They decided at the end of the day, by a vote of 10-5, to keep things as they were originally scheduled, voting down 3 proposals that would have pushed the start date back 2 weeks. The group's Sports Medicine Advisory Committee recommended that football and girls volleyball be delayed indefinitely because of their increased risk. And, of course, by a vote of 10-5, the FHSAA said, no.
Hell no.
We're starting when we're supposed. Now, they agreed to have another meeting. But football starts on Monday.
Well, they're having a meeting, Thursday or Friday? So in theory, they could change their mind?
No, they're having another meeting next week.
Oh, so after football starts. Then.
Right. I think you are going to see there were a lot of things going on, and I'll try to keep most of them in because I want to find out from Adam Regan, who's covering high school sports. He'll be on the show at 8 o'clock. I have heard a lot of crazy things out there. In fact, so much so that they have talked about, there's talk of the central part and the south part of the state splitting from the FHSAA. This is going to be fascinating over the course of the next couple of weeks, David. Because at the same time that all of this was going on, because I do have a daughter about to enter first grade in the Lee County schools, I'm getting information that the superintendent of schools has delayed pushing the start of school in Lee County back to either August 24th or August 31st. Once again, we can't go to school on time, but damn it, we can play football on time.
Mark, it's all about priorities.
This, of course, on the same day when California pushed their football season back till after the first of the year.
Right.
One thing about Florida and California that I think is fairly safe to say that we're similar in, that we could both play football after the first of the year. Not every state has that luxury. We do.
Yes. Now, I brought that up a couple of weeks ago, and yes, would it cause some recruiting issues? And I don't think it would cause recruiting issues with the top players. I actually think it would be more problematic for those that are not going to the elite schools. But hey, once again, it's the coronavirus. It's a pandemic. It's 2020. It's going to be remembered as a bit of a cluster, you know what, anyway. So, everybody do what they got to do in terms of when they're opening schools, whether they're playing, not playing, this sort of deal.
And there are youth sports going on. I just got a text from someone as we're talking about this going, there was basically a gigantic volleyball tournament going on in Orlando at the Civic Center. And he says, my friend's daughter's playing, watch some of it online. There were thousands of people there.
There was a big soccer tryout in Naples over the weekend. People auditioning to be signed to the Mexican Professional League. There are youth baseball tournaments in Cape Coral this past
Right.
weekend that friends of mine were there watching their kids play. Yeah.
We've not really talked about it because we don't do youth sports on this show.
Right.
But youth sports is going on. Girls softball, baseball, volleyball. It's all happening.
I mean, not to the extent that it has been, but there is still quite a decent amount of stuff that's going on now. Well, whether it should be or not, that's for a different time and a different place. We're not going to do that. But when Dave LaRosa, who I believe has been a principal at Fort Myers, an athletic director at Fort Myers High, and now works, I believe, for the Lee County School District. All right. When Dave LaRosa, sends out a tweet that says, just sat through a 5-hour FHSAA meeting, and all I can say is, wow. Now, there's not much he hasn't seen in high school athletics during his career. And when he's basically going, then, even for the FHSAA, this is some bat blank crazy. So, yes, later on in the show, we'll try to figure out what in the wide world of sports is happening. My favorite part of this story yesterday, Mark, because there is a side to us in which chaos, / anarchy. There's a little, just as sports talk show host. I'm not talking to big picture society, what have you. Just the sports talk show host.
Just the sports world. We don't like chaos and anarchy everywhere. We like it in sports.
Yes,
we like our fair share in sports. That's just greedy sports talk show host right there.
Totally.
That's all that is.
Being as selfish as possible. If we could get just a little bit of it on a consistent basis.
It's basically the non-mask wearing sports host. That's what really it is.
But there was a story out there mid-afternoon in which somebody who covers high school sports in Florida said, I'm hearing that 7 counties on the southwest coast of Florida are thinking about breaking away from the FHSAA and doing their own thing and forming like a 6 or 7 game season this year. And this
for 1 year.
Right. And I saw that and I'm like, if we're part of that, I'm in. I hope that's not just, starting above our 5-6 county region here. And it's those 7 counties, from Venice to Tampa. Please tell me we're part of this. If so, I'm all in. Miller and Moulton will devote our show, all right, once a week, to helping the cause here. Just like, what was it, last year? The refs.
The Refgate.
Right. We love that. We absolutely love that. Are we going to have games? If so, are we going to have strike officials?
Well, funny you bring up the officials, David. Because there's already one athletic trainer that basically told his school, I don't care. I ain't showing. And when the trainers tell the teams that they're not showing, how long is it before the referees say, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not working the games. There is so much red tape that the High School Athletic Association has to get through in order to have a game.
Mark, I can't believe for $40 and a hot dog and a soda at halftime that these guys won't referee these games.
You're wondering why teachers are nervous about going back? You're a high school ref making $40 and a dog? Really?
I think they're making a touch more than that, but not much.
75, 80, I think.
Point. Ooh, boy, I don't know. 80.
They wanted $100 last year. That was the number that they wanted. I thought they got to 80.
Did they get that close? I thought.
Trust me, one of our phones. We'll have it in the starting 5 because one of our phones should ding between now and when that starts.
But that was my favorite part of the story. I'm like, hold on, we have breakaway counties. We're going to do our own thing for a year? You mean to tell me Southwest Florida may combine with like Venice and Sarasota, Bradenton and go all SEC, Big 12, ACC on the rest of college football? This is fantastic.
Call Sankey. Florida knows how to take their ball and play their own game.
We're doing high school football, baby.
In fact, we may say, hey, you guys have to split what days you're playing. We need 2 days of coverage. Get yourself some network TV deals. Might get you a statewide network out of this. For all of you jonesing for high school football in the Panhandle tonight, we've got the Battle of Charlotte County. Dig in and enjoy. Have all those local stations around the state? No, just sell your sponsorships. You know, all that stuff that you sold. No, just keep running it. We're good.
Put it this way, David lost his golf gig. He might be able to fit in some high school sports.
Absolutely. I have no idea if I'm working Thursdays, Saturdays, or Sundays either. So Bill Kramer's not doing anything. Bill, if you're listening, what do you say?
I'll do the field reporting, Moulton and Kramer.
Halftime. Now we go down to the 50-yard line, and here's Mark Miller. Mark, take it away.
Thanks, David. Great first half. Immokalee trailing 14-7. Coach, how did it go out there?
Guys, I can't hear you. The band's playing behind me. Let's go to break.
I just want one of those long stick mics so I can stay 6 feet away from whoever it is.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I need a long stick mic.
I don't know if we're going to have this.
I'm not even talking Gene Rayburn. I'm talking a long stick mic.
No, I know, like on the end of a broom type deal. That's how I think we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to take apart our little brooms on our lanai. Hey, can you say this to all the engineers? Can you attach a mic onto the end of this?
Just tape the cord down the wood. That'll work just fine.
Right.
Miller and Moulton, starting 5 on the other side.
And the good thing is that when the coach is running by you to the locker room, you can use that mic as a way to hit him and get him to stop.
You know, get it back to the beginning, David. One thing about 70s hockey, clutching and grabbing was fully legal then. I just pull him in with that thing. He can't get by me. Left wing lock, baby.
The stick was a third arm. That's what I noticed yesterday. My goodness.
Starting 5 is next. We'll come up with a poll question before the top of the hour. And, well, as much as we can handle here on Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening. Fox Sports Radio, where we stream at millerandmoulton.com, and you're looking live on twitch.tv.
A date which will live in infamy.
Chico Resch did an interview, Seth. It was fantastic.
Yep.
That inspired the American story.
Where he just flat out said Montreal's too damn good for everyone. How about that? You know, the difference is they have a second power play unit. And you would be wrong, Johnny Mac. I am showerless.
On Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
I now have a thing. I can't get up here at like 5:48. I've got to have the email sent to David by 5:40 or I don't even feel right anymore. Uh-oh.
Do you panic when someone says we need to talk? Well, here it goes. We need to talk, but don't panic. This is a good kind of talk. Those glasses and contacts you're sporting, they're just in the way of you having the freedom to enjoy a more flexible lifestyle. France Eye Care wants to offer you $1,000.
Nothing like Jennifer Maynard from the Mayo Clinic saying it's our stance that return to competition for high school sports is not medically safe. Yep.
Through the advanced technology of laser vision correction. So what if you've been told you're not a candidate for LASIK? France Eye Care wants you to know there are other options available. But to learn more, you need to call now. Schedule your free screening. Take advantage of that $1,000 off bilateral LASIK special. Financing options available. It's time for you to experience better vision and a better life. Dial *** 2020 from your mobile phone.
Yesterday was the pool. Today was nothing.
For what?
My morning routine. Yesterday was a jump in the pool. Today was nothing. Ran out of time. Dog was very much a pain in the ass this morning.
Man.
Frank snipped everything that there was to sniff.
Our dog is causing us just, our dog's not sleeping. Oh, man.
And that's all ours does.
At least not at night.
I don't know when he left our bed last night, but he didn't wake me up doing it, so that's a good thing.
We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google
Oh, boy, that dog can sleep during the day.
My wife said we came home from the beach. I told you I napped on Saturday and never got up.
I was going to say, no, you slept.
She said, I went to go to bed at like 9:30. She goes, you and Frank. She goes, first off, he went to bed with you at 3:40. He got up with me at 7. She goes, I had to coerce him out of the bed at 7 to eat. Eats, goes outside, walks right back in, hops in the bed, done. She goes, I get up there. She goes, I had enough coverage to cover half of me. She goes, between the two of you had the whole thing done. Like, I don't know what to tell you. August 18th. I gotta get a ballot. I gotta see what's going. I'm getting 4, 5, 6 things a day right now. The money that they are pouring out.
Yeah, well, you can buy a congressional seat. It's good to know you win the primary or a congressman.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you think about it. The one guy lost his seat because, well, he bought cocaine. The other two have given it up.
Catch him today at 5 p.m.
Yeah, they were unchallenged, though. I mean, the other two
Right.
after him.
The basketball guy and then...
they both just walked away.
Yes. They
But
actually did what you're supposed to do. Serve and leave. But yeah, this is a lifetime position if you want it.
yeah, you want 30 years, you can do 30 years. That should be, by the way, when in Southwest Florida, okay, will a Democrat win a major race? Pick the year.
Wow.
Yeah. Will it be before 2040? Just something to ponder.
You can put that up as a poll question.
This is Miller and Moulton. You're live.
27 minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We'll get to yesterday's poll question and the results. Turned out to be a really good poll. Turned out to be very competitive. And then we'll throw today's poll question at you. It's what we do right now. Time for
The starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton's starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Hey, listen, I don't want to be the bearer of good news, all right, because that's not really allowed anymore. Although I was encouraged yesterday, Mark, that I like to flip around at 6:30. Drives my wife crazy. It's the old news guy in me. I just like to see what the networks are leading with. All right, we used to do that in newsrooms. You'd have all the local stations up. Everybody have their own monitor, and you'd be standing there, and literally you would chart their stories. Let's see what they have, and then we'd all have a post-show meeting, and eventually we'd get around to, well, what do they have? Anything they have that we missed?
I think it's fascinating here locally how different the first 7 minutes are of the news is between the local stations. Because you're right. I mean, I think when they're doing those rundowns, I don't watch the 6 very often. When I do, I flip back and forth, and I'm like, I'll be damned. They're all over the place. Whereas at 6:30, the A block's pretty much the A block no matter what station you watch.
Right. But last night, what was interesting was 2 of the 3 that I flipped around to quickly catch led with the promising vaccine results that came from the University of Oxford yesterday. I thought, how about that? Leading with a little positivity. Along being inspired by 2 of the 3 network newscasts last night, Mark, if you are looking for the positive and you are desperately clinging to, hey, sports is going to resume here or start, depending on the sport. The NBA, 346 tests since they've been in the bubble. You know how many positives? 0.
Zip, zilch, nada.
Zip, zilch, bubkiss. Right. 0 for 346. The NHL, now they've been at it a week. 2,618 tests of over 800 players. So basically in a week, everybody there has been tested about 3 times on average. You know how many positive tests out of 2,618?
2.
1 per arena. 1 for Toronto and 1 for Edmonton. Now, we have no idea if that was the breakdown, but you get the idea. So the bubbles in the NBA and in the NHL so far are working. And for that matter, Major League Baseball has been encouraged. The NFL reached a deal with the players yesterday about testing. They will, for the first 2 weeks of training camp, test everybody every day. If the positivity rate is 5% or higher, they will continue testing everyone every day. If after the 2 weeks the positivity rate is below 5%, then they will adjust testing at that time. Otherwise, not much else that they agreed upon yesterday. Still going through the issues. The thought is that the NFL is going to save money and tenure for last. You know, they'll take care of the other issues. That's normally what the sides do. The state of New Jersey did declare yesterday that for the foreseeable future, we're not going to have fans at any sporting events. And the Giants and Jets released a joint statement. And trust me, even though they play in the same stadium, it's not easy to get the Giants and Jets to release a joint statement. But they did, in which they said, fully supportive of what the state of New Jersey's doing. We wished we were going to have fans at our games, but you know what? If we don't have any fans this year, we can live with it. We'll be okay with it. So that's just some of, and the NFL has reportedly caved into the players about preseason football. The players wanted no games. The owners wanted 2. Then for a day, they wanted 1. Come on, can we just play a game? Reportedly, late yesterday, the owner said to the players, hey, okay, fine. How about no preseason this year? We'll see you in Kansas City on September 10th, and we'll see everybody else on that Sunday the 13th. What do you say?
Quick sidebar, just ticket-wise, you mentioned what Jacksonville did. Pittsburgh, I know because my mother-in-law got her letter, basically saying, you want out? We'll let you out. We'll give you your money. Tell us why you want out. And I don't know if they have to approve everybody, but my mother-in-law is 75 years old. She said, I'm 75. I am simply just worried at my age about the coronavirus of going to games. They said, okay, gave her money back, and she doesn't lose her seat license. Nothing going forward for 2021. And I think that's going to be the norm in the NFL, David.
I find it interesting, though, they want you to submit a reason why. I mean, with all due respect, I mean, every other year, all right, nobody is offering to give up their tickets and wanting to push it back a year. We think we know why this year you may want to.
Yeah, I was a little concerned with they had to approve your reason, but
right.
The fact of the matter is, at least in my mother-in-law's case, they did. And it just seems to be that's what the standard right now is going to be in the NFL. I think it would be very smart, David, if the NFL were to come out and make that the policy. League-wide. Tell the teams, I'm sorry, everybody's got to be uniform, in step on this. We have to treat our fans the right way this year.
I don't first off, it's not going to happen, and you know that. But I don't know if Goodell could do that. I think he would face a tremendous amount of resistance in which the owners would be like, hey, no. You don't get involved in that. No. No. That's overstepping your bounds here. So I think if he tried to do that, he would have been met with great resistance. And you and I both know he's not going to, especially since a couple of weeks ago that he said, hey, we're going to leave it up to every team as to whether or not they're going to have fans. They have them work it out with their local governments or their state governments. And, you know, we're not going to set an attendance policy. So you knew right then and there they were then not going to set a ticket policy. But yes, Mark, I do think behind the scenes, Goodell should be encouraging every owner, hey, come on now. Good faith gestures here. People don't want to come, hold their spot in line.
They've helped finance probably a stadium or two in your tenure here. You've probably hit them up for PSLs and just hold their place in line. Meanwhile, there was a PGA Tour player that we found out yesterday tested positive. Grayson Murray has tested positive, and because of it, he withdraws from this week's 3M Championship in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Are you following this Dwight Howard story? Dwight does not want to wear a mask, and Dwight doesn't believe in vaccinations.
Right.
And so Dwight Howard is seen often in the bubble not wearing a mask when everyone else is wearing a mask. Now, somebody's already reported him to the snitch line, which I do love the snitch line.
I just want to be listening to the snitch line. Other people have said this, David. You're just going to start snitching on the team. I mean, if you're a Clipper, aren't you trying to snitch on Lakers every day?
Well, Doc Rivers joked about it. Doc Rivers joked about, how he's wearing out the snitch line, calling in, on LeBron and, a couple of other guys. Right. But here's the thing about Dwight Howard. I bring it up because Dwight may be forcing the NBA's hand here, because the NBA's got a clear protocol listed. If you don't wear the mask, you are subject to penalty. Now, the penalty could be all sorts of things. It could be from a fine to a suspension. So if Dwight Howard continues not to wear a mask in the bubble, I actually think Adam Silver is going to have to make an example out of him. Don't know how that's going to be received. All right. But Dwight's been pretty open about it. He's, talking about it, giving interviews. And he acknowledged, hey, somebody's already, snitched on me. So right now he's just getting warnings. But I mean, if you're the NBA and you're hell-bent on this bubble, don't you have to enforce the bubble?
Yes.
Now, we can get into the fact that the hotel workers are not in the bubble, and so it's a bubble only to a point. And, but Dwight Howard's feeling is that, and he has said, hey, listen, do I hate the mask? Yes, I do. Do I not want to wear a mask? Absolutely. But then he said, we're getting tested all the damn time. I mean, we're all negative. Now, that's when somebody pointed out, well, the hotel workers and this, that, and the other thing. But Dwight's only, thinking about the teams and the personnel. And he's like, we're all looking around. We all know we've tested negative. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So I just thought it was mentioning. We were talking about fans at games. The University of Texas announced that right now their goal is 50%. For their football games, 50% capacity. And for what it's worth, the SWAC laid out their plan to move football to the spring for this coming season. And high school sports, still up in the air in the state of Florida. All right? Because, well, let's face it, school starting and when is still up in the air.
Because Florida. That's the reason. Because Florida. It's why we have our own tab on fark.com.
And a gentleman in our Twitch chat room says, how can you do the starting five and not mention Antonio Brown retiring again? And I got to be honest, it's because I don't consider Antonio Brown a relevant person in the sports world anymore. I think the NFL has decided they are done with AB. Put it this way. When the league is yet to announce whether or not they were going to discipline him for all the stuff that went on last year, I have not taken Antonio Brown seriously. When Bruce Arians won't sign you, I mean, let's be honest. Is there any more of a player's coach in the NFL than Bruce Arians? And when Bruce Arians goes, no, we're good, not interested.
And the Cowboys haven't even shown interest.
Right. When Jerry Jones and Bruce Arians aren't interested in signing you, all right?
You're running out of options. Seattle hasn't signed you. I mean, these are the...
Right. Seattle hasn't signed you, and they worked you out, and the Patriots have already kicked you off, and they'll give a lot of people second chances also. And Andy Reid hasn't signed you. Mr. Second Chance in the NFL. Now,
Not that they need them, but you know our point. The second chance teams and organizations, they're not giving them a second chance. But yes, Antonio Brown said yesterday that basically the risk is not worth the reward, and I'm done. It's been fun. So, okay. Now we can debate 5 years from now whether or not AB is a Hall of Famer. Do his numbers say he's a Hall of Famer? Yes, they do. Do I think Antonio Brown will get in the Hall of Fame? I do not. I do not. And if it happens, I think it will take a long time. I don't think they will be lining up to vote for AB. And at 14 minutes before the hour, that mark is...
The starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and foxsportsfm.com.
How do you answer the snitch line, by the way? Somebody has to answer that, right? Or do you just leave a recording? I mean, because Seth Everett, who's watching and listening in our twitch.tv chat room, in which he said, you answer it, NBA snitch line, can I help you?
I'm really thinking, and it's almost before my time, but I'm thinking of Lily Tomlin doing the operator answering the snitch line phone. That's really all I've got in my head right now.
I'm thinking Jennifer, the Time Life magazine operator, with that nice white headset and the little microphone that came across.
When I thought you meant Jennifer, I thought you meant Jennifer WKRP was answering the snitch line and just giving all the information right to Les Nessman.
Miller and Moulton. Yesterday's poll results. Maybe we'll have a poll question today. Maybe. And I do have a big picture question mark that I want to throw at you at the top of the 7 o'clock hour.
Fantastic.
It's a short question, but it's a big picture. In fact, we can't go any bigger with our picture. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
And now, I think
what do you got for poll
to
question?
Look at this and go.
Nothing really.
I've got one thing that I've been thinking about today. We may have done this before. Chocolate chip cookies, soft and gooey, thin and crispy.
But we've also been hopeful. Now the reality starts to set in.
Soft and chewy, thin and crispy.
Yeah.
Cookies?
Chocolate chip cookies.
Florida's Fox Sports Radio and Fox Sports FM.
So you didn't even really listen to the first question, did you? I got you halfway through. You jumped back in when you heard,
I heard cookies.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Did. That got my attention. Cookies. Oh, shit.
Mom and daughter made cookies over the weekend. That's where that came from. I would love to do something with this high school thing. I just don't know. Which group should be trusted the least? The NCAA, the FHSAA?
Should they play high school football? Yes in the fall, yes in the winter, no. Unless you want to do 4 choices, yes in the fall, yes in the winter, yes in the spring, no.
Should they play high school football in Florida this year? Yes in the fall. Yes after January 1. No, not at all. There. I like it, David. I like it. But I've been going to Stadium Dry Cleaners for years. What? Where's that copy? Oh, Saturday is their grand opening. Listen to Drew, and you tell me that that's not Stern from if
discounts for our first responders and seniors. They have
because he's ad-libbing this, I think.
Oh yeah, he's got three bullet points.
Yeah, and I mean I love Drew, but Drew's not the ad-lib commercial guy. Drew's a pro.
Cape Coral.
Like,
They
Drew's a
are
consummate
Lee
pro.
County's leading dry cleaner since 1988 with 30 years of
See, like right
experience
here,
in Lee County.
he's got all this
that's a
stuff.
line.
He's reading
That's a
lines,
bullet point
and it
right
sounds
there.
perfect.
Right.
But the beginning of it, he's just kind of
Right.
not sure.
StadiumDryCleaners.com and look for their monthly specials for great savings.
1033 Cape Coral.
Hardee's presents the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger. It's just like the Western Bacon Cheeseburger with charbroiled beef, crispy bacon and onion rings, and topped with tangy barbecue sauce. But we added spicy jalapenos and melty pepper jack cheese. We took a burger that was already delicious and spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack to explain it? Because jalapenos sound like this.
Wow. President is upset about. I mean, he is just tweeting a storm up right at the moment.
Wow.
Like 6 tweets in the last 10 minutes.
Must be watching Fox and
He
Friends.
is.
Must be worked up.
He's well, he thanked everybody for his positive reviews of the interview with Chris Wallace. I guess he read that wrong. All the reviews were about Chris Wallace. They weren't about you, but that's all right.
Bacon and spicy jalapenos. And if you're feeling extra wild, you can get it all wrapped up in a burrito. The Southwest Omelet, Biscuit, and Burrito are back, only at Hardee's.
What has a better chance, high school sports?
Hey, I think that's a typo or something.
Participation may vary.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martin.
Oh, D.R. Martineau.
Don't be a spreader.
Are we basically at the point where every local news is going to be done on a whiteboard at home? I mean, we still got Devin at home, which is weird. We got Devin at home, and then they still bring the other gal in. It's like, do you need to?
Well, here's what I don't understand. It's been 2 weeks with Devitt. So I don't understand why he's still home.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
7 minutes before 7 o'clock. Thanks for waking up with Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday, the 21st of July, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. 8 o'clock hour. Pat Kerwin will join us. We'll also talk high school football, whether or not it's going to happen. And if it does, when?
Our poll question yesterday was, which abbreviated season are you most fired up to watch? And Hockey Guy came out swinging. 41+% of you said you're most fired up to watch the National Hockey League. I might retweet that to the NHL and let them know that that poll was taken in Southwest Florida.
Correct.
Naples, Fort Myers, gang.
Right.
And 41+% said they want to watch hockey. I will tell you, the fact that NBA ended up getting almost 1 in 4 votes, David, impressed me. Because early on, it was about 1 in 8.
But 42% hockey, 35% baseball, 23% NBA. It's an education for these two hosts. I'll tell you what, though, if you're the Everblades, you love seeing that. You're like, look at that. Mid-July, and our market still loves our hockey. That's fantastic. Don't know when we're going to be able to open the doors and play again, but, boy, when we do, they'll be there. That we know.
Today, doing something we don't normally do. We have a poll question about high school football. In fact, I don't know if we've ever had one, other than about the refereeing situation late last summer. But right now, should they play high school football in Florida this year? Yes in the fall, yes after January 1, not at all. Those are the 3 choices.
At Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or millerandmoulton.com, and please vote. Mark, big picture. Big picture. We talk a lot of micro. I want to go macro. All right. Want to go macro on the other side. All right. Want to remember Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy?
Yes, I love Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy. Wish you'd have told me you were going there, and I had one ready for you.
just letting you know that when we come back from break, I'm just going to need a moment. That's all. To go back in time and give you a little Deep Thoughts
with David Moulton. And then let you and everyone else just, decide. No wrong answer. That's the good news. There's no wrong answer. Because, Mark, if we've seen anything in terms of America's behavior in the last few months, is that, hey, we don't like to be wrong.
Never.
Or whatever side you're on.
And now, Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy.
Dad always thought laughter was the best medicine, which I guess was why several of us died of tuberculosis.
Just had to find a short one for you, David.
Well, that certainly was it. That certainly was it. Yep. So that's all. On the other side, I may, going to give you something to ponder. That's all.
Christian or Sam.
Right. Exactly.
But the poll question is up. High school sports. Yes in the fall. Yes after the first of the year. Not at all. That Mark Miller, at some point, the David Moulton. Probably right before the next segment begins when David puts not only his vote, but his reason behind his vote. And here's why. That's all part of the charm of Miller and Moulton. Macro, big picture, diving in. Next. Thanks for listening. Fox Sports Radio.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's
A buddy of mine just texted. He goes, I can't see how you just don't go Deep Thoughts by David Moulton daily now, or Mark Miller. Deep Thoughts by Mark Miller could be something.
Boy, could it ever. My fear is we wouldn't make it through the week, though, without doing one that gets us in trouble.
Yeah, nothing says getting fired like Deep Thoughts by Mark Miller and David Moulton.
You got that right.
That is what we call career suicide.
Right. We did that.
That's floormeisters.com.
We do this all for you. You are correct. So sit back and enjoy.
Fun. It's the best.
Enjoy the banter.
Talk some sports. That's the game.
Enjoy the conversation that makes you think.
I would not think about ripping him. What are you talking about?
Enjoy all of this.
Love it. Embrace it.
Isn't it great? And let's not forget.
Because we're doing it all for you.
You just watch. We're going to do it. And do it often.
We're Fox Sports Radio.
With lobster season right around the corner, Captain Pete's Diving Outfitters Giant Tent Sale couldn't come at a better time. This Thursday through Sunday at Captain Pete's, you can grab the best deals on regulators, plus hundreds of closeout masks, fins, snorkels, spear guns, lobster equipment, and more. Brand new tanks for just $160.
And now, Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy.
I can't stand cheap people. It makes me real mad when someone says something like, "Hey, when are you going to pay me that $100 you owe me?" Or, "Do you have that $50 you borrowed?" Man, quit being so cheap.
And now, Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy.
We used to laugh at Grandpa when he'd head off and go fishing, but we wouldn't be laughing that evening when he'd come back with some whore he picked up in town.
All right, I got to turn this off. Good thing the federal officers went and blew up Portland again last night.
Yep, that's it. Miller.
But since we can't sit next to one another, I was thinking about the first break, toasting my English muffin and saying, hey, it's English muffin time during the starting five.
And Moulton.
Love BOGO English muffins. You throw one on the counter, you throw the other in the freezer.
There you go.
For a week, then you take it out. When you've got BOGO, it's like, hey, knock yourself out.
Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Couple minutes past 7 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. You can chime into the show, and I'm going to ask many of you to do just that here in the next hour on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line 479-5551. 479-5551. Mark, I don't know if this is a deep thought, and it was, I guess, intended to be a deep question, albeit a very simple one. All right, if you were a person in a position of authority, and somebody simply asked you this question, why? Why should we play football? What would you say?
I'm a little confused. You caught me off guard here. Why should we play football in a pandemic? Why should we play football, period?
Yeah. Well, obviously, Mark. I mean, there's no reason to ask the question in any other July of any other year.
Well, I didn't know if you had some other...
No, just right now. Okay, because at some point, behind the scenes, you know somebody, whether it's an AD, whether it's a university president, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's an insurance company, somebody is saying to someone in position of authority, why? Why are we doing this? Okay, and do you have a reason other than the money?
No. And that's why you and I have both talked about the NFL season. Look, I don't think college is starting on time. I don't. Because of your general macro question there. I think at the end of the day, there are too many litigation factors at the collegiate and high school level. I don't think that what the FHSAA did yesterday means that we're going to play football in a few weeks. I don't even think they're going to practice on Monday.
Well, I don't think it's the end of the world if they don't show up for practice on Monday, but I do think that we're going to play high school football this year in the state of Florida. All right. I do.
I do as well. I just don't think we're going to start on time.
Okay, but I don't think that matters. Everybody, and I think most people disagree with me, whether these seasons start on time or not. Who cares? They start 2 weeks late. I mean, does anybody really care? I mean, I laughed. Yes, I made fun of everybody making a big deal out of the NFL and the NFLPA and the fact that they hadn't worked everything out. Well, it was July 20th yesterday. The season kicks off on September 10th. They got time. They do. Now, should they have probably worked something out? Yeah, probably, but relax. They got time. I mean, and these, quite frankly, there's not a whole lot of choices on some of these issues. There really isn't. I mean, they're going to have to do certain things.
Yesterday was actually the first good day in quite a while.
It's a really good day.
You had 0 positive tests in Orlando in the NBA bubble. You had 2 positive tests out of over 2,000 in the National Hockey League, 800 players. And there is talk that a vaccine at the University of Oxford has some positive results. Yeah. Yesterday was a terrific day. We have not had one in a long time.
Right.
But people get super excited about vaccines. They don't go from the testing run to mass distribution all that quickly.
No. In fact, the University of Oxford said, listen, if everything went perfectly, maybe late 2020. And that's if everything went perfectly. And trust me, we are just in the infancy stage of all the different tests that we have to do. Okay. So the likelihood is sometime in 2021. All right. And that's if it works at all.
But David, I don't know from a high school football standpoint, first off, how they're going to play as soon as they want to. And I'm sorry that I have to take each one of these separately because I think they are all incredibly different. But at the end of the day, I think I forwarded you the article yesterday from The Athletic. They've been doing pieces on how the pandemic is affecting the financial impact in sports. And whether it's Ohio State or Tulane, as this article pointed out, basically around 60% of athletic department revenue comes from football. Anywhere between 50 and 60% on average. Every school, no matter what their budget is, their revenue is somewhere around, let's just say 55%. We'll split it. But they pointed out, like the case of Iowa, they put donations in non-specific departments. The donations aren't because of football. They just go to the athletic fund. But the fact of the matter is that without winning in football, athletic donations drop severely. So when you add the football revenue along with the donations, you're talking much more along the lines of 90% of an athletic department's budget come from football. I mean, let's just face it. That's where they come from. Now, at the high school side, we talked about this yesterday. The gate at these schools is paying for most everything else. The football department, even at the high school level, is flipping the bill for a lot of this. So it all comes to money. I don't know what other reason there is, unfortunately. It's not about camaraderie or teams, and it's about money. And the NFL is going to play. I don't know if they start on time. I don't think college football starts on time, and I don't think high school football starts on time. But I do think that they will all play. But to the reasons why, it's money.
Listen, do I think that the number one reason is money? Of course I do. I've been banging the table 4 months saying that every time the numbers look bad and public opinion is like, oh, we're not going to play football this year. I've been one of those voices going, oh, trust me, we're playing football. All right. It's just a matter of how much and when it starts. But trust me, we are playing football. But I do think, and I don't know if anyone has the wherewithal, the guts, quite frankly, to do it. But, why should we play football? Well, can't you, not to go all NFL films here, but can't you, strike up the horns in the background? Couldn't I make a very Winston Churchill, 4:00 in the afternoon case here for how significant, whether it should be or not, but how significant this is in our lives, in our society as a whole, in our communities, if you want to go down to the high school level. And I could work up, I hear John Facenda in my head right now, Mark. The autumn wind is a Raider. And I could just go on a soliloquy talking about how this is now America's sport. This is who we are. And that if we don't play football, what it will represent to ourselves. Thank you, John. Right? That the mirror that it will then turn around and that we will be looking at. And that why is it that we are going to play football? Now, is money a part of it? Yeah, of course. Is it the biggest part? I would contend yes. But I would also contend in 2020, it's become a major way of life. That the combination of forces, the less time that people have, our addiction to the boob tube, all right, I mean, you name it. Add it all up. The fact that it's once a week, it's 3 hours, it seems to be the perfect length of time for us and the perfect number of times a week. And not only that, it is a phenomenal sport to televise, and it is televised really well. Okay. And I think that you can make this case. We need to play. Because if we don't, all right, the damage that it will do to us as a society. And I know that people are not into speeches the way they used to. In fact, they make fun of people who, talk about hope. Well, let's face it, we make fun of everybody these days. But, Mark, I am waiting for the football person. I am waiting for someone, whether it's a conference commissioner in college, whether it's an NFL owner, whether it's Goodell, okay? I am waiting for someone who's an integral part of football to look into a camera and have the guts to say, because it's who we are and it's what we do, and not to get all, I don't like to compare the two, but if you were to combine NFL films with when John F. Kennedy said we are going to go to the moon, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Okay? So combine the trumpets and the brass with, hey, we're Americans. And this has become our thing. It used to be baseball, or it used to be something else. But do you know what defines us as a country? If you want to know, for better or worse, who we are as a society, learn football. Watch football. Watch people watch football and interact while watching football. That defines us as a nation, for better or worse. I mean, that might be what I would say to somebody if I was off in another country. If I moved and 10 years from now and somebody who's never been to America and they go, tell me about America. And I'd say, well, you need to learn about football. Now, it wouldn't be the first thing I'd say, but I'll tell you what, it'd be one of the top 5. And I'm wondering, Mark, does somebody involved with football? It's dangerous. I mean, it's risky. And you got a lot of people, and maybe the majority, Mark, that would come after you and come after you hard. And there's no doubt they're going to throw the money in your face. And they're going to say, you're just trying to dress up a pig here. Okay, let's be honest. Come on now. You want to play for the money, and you're trying to romanticize this and this, that, and the other thing. But why should we play?
Well, David, I love when you wax poetically like that. But as you were doing it, I started just kind of having my own thoughts of what you were saying. And our producer, or I guess our program director, had a lot of fun with NFL 100 last year, showing videos of things that the NFL doesn't want you to see. And when I think about where we are watching football, and if you were to tell that to someone from another country, I think as an American, I would be disgusted that that's how we portray who we are at games, because I think we act despicable at pro football games. I think it's gross. I wouldn't take my daughter anywhere near an NFL football game ever. Maybe on Saturday, but I sure as hell wouldn't on Sunday. Because if that defines us, that's a horrific definition. That is drunk, fight, dive on table, act like an ass. And maybe that's who we are. Maybe that's a harsh reality.
I was going to say, have you been watching the news lately?
I have. as you've said often, we can't agree on the time of day anymore. I'm miffed at the whys, because the whys have always just been money. And we have contended that for 3 months, that there's just too much damn money on the table to not play football. And when I'm reading that article on The Athletic, that basically he's contending that programs go under if there's no college football this year. Well, then it's pretty obvious why. It's money.
But I do think, and listen, I think money's the number one reason. But I do think a compelling case can be made for, this is who we are. You want to debate whether or not this is what we should be, but this is America in 2020. All right. Never mind the fact that, go back in time, when we were involved in other problems. You know what we did? We kept playing. We did. It's who we are. It's what we do. You want to criticize us for it? Fine. But it's part of what makes us us. And I'm waiting for the person involved with football. Like, hey, for as much as I think that certain measures should be put in place, and for as much as I say, listen, we're playing because of money, I have contended from the very beginning, I don't understand the whole attendance thing. I got to be honest with you. I don't. Now, you make everybody wear masks. I mean, I've said that from the very beginning also. But, I mean, here's the deal. Here's the price of a ticket. You want to go? It's on you. It's on you. I mean, honestly, because you can't have Texas. They want to have 50% capacity at their games. Hey, I'm sorry. I mean, you really think 50% is quote unquote safe? I mean, do you? Yes or no? Because my guess is we're probably a little too close together at 50%. So if you're willing to go to 50%, well, then hell, why don't we just go to whatever percent?
Yeah, David, I'm with you there, because, and then you throw in the dome side of it. And I know it's apples and oranges, but my wife was able to convince me to go to church with her a couple of weeks ago. And, we wore the mask, but you have to sit in every other pew. And I'm kind of laughing going, if anybody thinks that lady in front of me is 6 feet away, you're crazy. I can reach over and touch her, for crying out loud. Like, you couldn't do every third, so I don't know, and I know that's apples and oranges, but just looking at, it's the first place I've been to that has a seating arrangement that's at least somewhat similar to a theater or to a sporting arena. How many rows do you have to skip in order to be 6 feet away from someone? I mean, at least 3.
Rows?
Yes.
Probably 2. I think if you sat row 1 and row 4,
right, yeah,
6 feet apart.
Right. Every 3, yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then you'd have to skip 3 seats technically, because every seat's a little less than 2 feet wide. So
University of Michigan, every 6 seats, because, well, they're even closer.
Okay. So, but that's the argument that I'm waiting for someone involved with football to make. And they're going to get crushed. But here's what I would say to them. Hey, listen, you're going to get crushed no matter what argument you make. I mean, people have already made up their minds on this. All right? They either think you should play or they don't. And those that think you should not play, it does not matter the reasoning you come up with. It doesn't. You're going to get crushed. All right? So you need to live with this yourself. You need to be able to look yourself in the mirror. You need to be able to look others in the mirror. And I think that those involved with football, if in fact the heat is going to get even hotter, people questioning why it is that you do this, I think someone involved with some level of football is going to have to say, yeah, is money a part of it? You're damn right it is. All right. I mean, take a look at our country right now. I mean, we made decisions based on whether or not we could reopen and what have you. Yeah, of course, money's a part of it, but it's not the biggest part of it. Here is the biggest part of it. I mean, if I were to ask you a question, another one, after why? I mean, let's just say what is the SEC? How would you answer that?
What is the SEC?
What is the SEC?
A conference that cares more about football than they do their family.
Really? Well, then you're on my side. I mean, I think if you were to ask a person in the SEC that, I mean, not Big Ten person who may hate the SEC and have a grudge, and so they'll give us, snarky answer. But I think there's a good chance that a majority of people who answer it will have the word football in their answer. Well, if that's the case, if your very existence has football in it, isn't that why you play? I mean, I'm wondering. There are people taking to Twitter who are passionate about certain things, and they make their case in the face of maybe public opinion, even that is against them. And right now, I think to make this case, you would be in the minority. But I am surprised that no one in the business of football, and I use that phrase just that way, whether it be on Saturdays or Sundays, I am surprised. And maybe they're just waiting for the right time. But deep down, somebody, Mark, in a position of power, conference commissioner, an NFL owner, a commissioner, somebody behind closed doors is taking something and throwing it and slamming it and saying, you tell those blankety blanks that the reason we're playing is because that's what we blankety blank do.
I mean,
it's who we are.
Harbaugh kind of said that a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he did. He said, I don't see how football is going to make the virus any worse. I don't think as passionately as what you're talking about, but he certainly is leading that charge. But I think fear of retribution from making that statement is holding a lot of people off.
So I just wanted to ask everybody, 479-5551. And you can just text in your answer. Hell, you could text it in tonight and go about
I'll
your
be
day.
here.
Think about it. Yeah, Mark will be here.
I'll be here.
He loves the 3:49 p.m. text. Loves it. Do you respond, by the way, to the 3:49 p.m. text?
If I'm up here, whenever I come up to the studio, I turn the computer on, and usually I've left Google Chrome open, and one of the tabs that's open is our app for the text line. So I will check it, see if anybody said anything, usually answer, and then go on with what I'm doing.
Look at that.
Because sometimes I bring this tablet downstairs because I have a guitar thing that I bought, and it's where I can learn to play songs badly. I mean, I was just killing a Cure song the other day, David. I mean, it was awful.
Oh, that would have been fantastic.
A little Just Like Heaven.
You know how much I like the Cure.
I know you do.
So that's all. Why? Why should we play? How would you answer that? 479-5551. Why should we play? And Mark, the reason I brought it up is because at some point, they're going to have to answer that question. And the answer is going to go a long way to shaping public opinion about the decisions they're making. Certain conferences have decided that the answer to the question why is not a good one. And they're moving things and they're making certain decisions. But the NFL, and I believe the Power 5 conferences in college sports, they're going to move forward. And I think they're moving forward on time or within 2 weeks of it. Why? Why should we play?
Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. You can stream the show always, millerandmoulton.com, or join us at twitch.tv and hang out during the breaks right here.
checkup, call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Is your pool a pain to operate? Automation is the answer. Use your phone to turn on your spa, and it'll be warm when you get home. Free on-site evaluations. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Want to talk about Stadium Dry Cleaners? My good friends, they are great people there. I've been going to Stadium Dry Cleaners, I'm telling you, for as long as I can remember. And you may know Larry Rose.
Telling you, you
Larry's an
really?
experienced SEC and NFL
So great.
referee. Well, I know Larry has a fantastic dry cleaner and a great businessman. Look, you're going to love Stadium Dry Cleaners. They have discounts for our first responders and seniors. They have multiple locations near Publix at Daniels Crossing in Fort Myers, the Gateway Trade Center in Fort Myers, and the Elegant Image Dry Cleaners next to Walgreens on Del Prado in Cape Coral. They are Lee County's leading dry cleaner since 1988.
The food comments are killing me.
I'm telling you,
What's that?
Everybody's so right. I so desperately just want to.
So will you visit them?
Where are the food?
And look for their
Well, see, my thing's behind.
Okay.
You know, this app thing doesn't work for shit. So,
with over 300 ports nationwide, your local Towboat U.S. companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties.
I think I would have to get multiple computers.
Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information, or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
I'm a busy person.
Catch the show anytime. Check out MillerandMoulton.com and subscribe to the daily podcasts.
Looking for a frameless shower door? My Shower Door has just opened their 8th Florida showroom, and it's conveniently located in Cape Coral. With more than 75,000 frameless shower doors installed, no one has more experience and 5-star reviews than My Shower Door. We've been named #1 by readers of the News Press and Naples News for 17 consecutive years and have just been named as Lee County's Manufacturer of the Year. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
With lobster season right around the corner, Captain Pete's Diving Outfitters Giant Tent Sale couldn't come at a better time. This Thursday through Sunday at Captain Pete's, you can grab the best deals on regulators, plus hundreds of closeout masks, fins, snorkels, spear guns, lobster equipment, and more. Brand new tanks for just $160. New BCs starting at $280. That's this Thursday through Sunday at Captain Pete's on Colonial Boulevard near McGregor, across from Broadway Palm Dinner Theater in Fort Myers. Go to captpeach.com for more details.
It's Kaylee Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. It's summertime, so it's hot. Make sure you change
I'd switch basketball and football seasons if I was Florida.
your air conditioners
Permanently.
twice a year by Nate certified mechanics, like my dad. All the mechanics.
The only thing that would go badly for you at certain schools, and it's a handful of kids. It's kind of like it's the argument of why bother with one and done and just let them go, is that you would have seniors that wouldn't play their senior season.
We will take it from there. 24/7, same low prices.
Those 10, because they'd early enroll in January in college. And like I said, David, you're talking about, 50 in Florida. You're probably talking about 50 kids in Florida.
CICO 57313. Kobe, most trusted name in the business since 1949.
I mean, in an ideal world, I'd overlap. I'd start late October, but
some kids still do play both.
You're live.
It's 7:30. That means we're halfway home on this Tuesday, the 21st of July edition of Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Today was the day when, coming up in a little more than 15 minutes time.
Got a bunch of texts, David, to get through, or a handful, I should say. One says SEC, Security Exchange Commission. And then they want more of me on guitar. I said, you don't want that. You just don't. This person says, David, to your original point, basically about how American football is. This person says, David, 100% correct. I have gone to watch football every Sunday at the bars for decades. Sharing the day with all my football fans in America is it's best and it's who we are. Spend a Saturday or Sunday at these places, just wonderful. I have a lady friend from Austria who doesn't know American football but loves the experience at the sports bars and the environment watching the games. Person says taking away March Madness or whatever is going is one thing, but if they take away college football, people will go into total depression, doesn't matter what age. Okay, I'm sure that we will have some problems. There's not a doubt in my mind that it will not be very fun if we don't have football coming up. And you're right, but I don't know about total depression. Maybe we will. David?
Oh, I think it would be very damaging to our psyche. I really do. I do think total depression is pretty severe, but if we don't have football in the fall, I think nationwide, what people joke that Jimmy Carter 40 years ago gave the malaise speech, I do believe that America would fall into a malaise. I really do. Now, is that a good enough reason to play? I don't know if it is, but I do think that there's a lot that we've all endured, and I do think at some point, if you're used to certain things on the buffet, you need one of those things back on the buffet.
David, we are not going to have buffets anymore. I know you're hungry.
It's an analogy, Mark. And yes, you're right.
I know it's an analogy, but it's an analogy that in 10 years you will not be able to say because no one will know what the hell you're talking about.
Mark, do you remember when we had buffets?
It's tough enough to get your steakhouse through on people right now.
Right. There used to be this place called Golden Corral. All right. Did you ever hear of Jeff Foxworthy? All right. I digress. But I do think, though, I really do. I think emotionally as a nation, it would affect us. We're angry right now, but I think that we would get, as a country, we would get depressed if we don't have in the fall what we have become, let's face it, addicted to.
You know, I hate bringing this subject up again, but it's inevitable that it's one of the things you're going to see. And I doubt you can get into it from a network standpoint. I don't even want to put you in a bad spot, David. But yesterday, the San Francisco Giants played, I guess they're calling them summer camp balls, and a decent portion of the players kneeled for the anthem that they played before the game. And I really didn't know or didn't care anymore. I mean, it's not, I'm numb to that. If that's the reason you're no longer watching sports, then okay, that's fine. That's your opinion. Mine is I'm numb to it. From day one, I said I had no problem with anybody kneeling for the anthem, and I said I wouldn't kneel for the anthem. That was my original position, but I never had a problem with someone using their freedom of speech to protest. That's what our country's founded on, for crying out loud. But when you still see the visceral comments about it, and President Trump tweeted about it, I think this morning or last night, about kneeling at the anthem. And look, all of the things you say about how American football is, David, I won't argue one bit of, not one sentence. But the anthem's bigger than football in this country. And we're going to start playing sports here, and people are going to be kneeling right and left. So help me, David. I don't have the answer. But with what you're saying, we need football. Okay, let's just take you at your word and say, I agree. But I know that when we start kneeling for the anthem at football games, people get pissed off, really pissed off. And players are going to kneel again. Band members at college games, I think, are going to kneel. So help me. How is that going to help us, or are we going to get more angry in September when now we're watching the anthem? And I don't know if you guys talked about what you're going to do at the college level from a standpoint. I don't know if you talked about it at Fox, but this is going to happen.
What about the anthem?
Yes.
No Zoom meeting that I've been a part of, it has not come up at all. No, hasn't come up because first off, both anthems take place when we're not on the air. That's the other thing. I mean, you don't see the anthems as part of a college or pro football game. The networks will have to change how they cover games if, in fact, this is something that people want to see. I've always contended if I was running a league, I would order the networks not to show it. No, we're here for the football.
I'm with you. Okay. You want to end that? You want to end that whole experience? Don't show it. It disappears.
Now, do I think that the people who are at the game covering it, are they going to tweet out that, hey, 11 members of the New York Giants were kneeling for the anthem and write down who they were? Yeah, they're going to. And if that's of importance to you, well, okay. But, Mark, I don't think that it's a big enough reason to not play because of the anthem. I don't.
I'm not. It's not at all what I'm saying. That's not.
No, I know, but you're saying that it could be something which actually, instead of football being played as a positive, it actually could turn into a negative.
That's all. It will. I don't think that it's good. It will. I every time I bring it up, we get a text or a tweet. Again, I saw the thing on my phone this morning about the Giants, and for whatever reason, I started thumbing through comments. And San Francisco Giants, and one of their fans said, well, lifelong Giant fan, I'm done with this team.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Mark Cuban got into it yesterday with Ted Cruz on Twitter.
Yes, he did.
And it all started because a radio show host, I guess, challenged Cuban saying, you're not going to kneel, or I'm not going to watch. And Cuban said, bye.
Right. Well, I do think at some point you have to stand up for who you are and take the consequences. We've talked about it. You got freedom of speech in this country. Yes, and it can bring about great consequences. If these leagues have decided that now they're okay with people kneeling and people expressing whatever it is that they are expressing during the anthems, if this is how they want to go about it, then they need to stand up and face the consequences. And there are going to be people that send their season tickets back to them. There are going to be people that say, I'm never going to watch again. Okay, but you made the decision. And you knew when you were making it, or at least you should have, because if you didn't, then you should not be in a position to make these decisions. You knew this was a hot button topic. And you're going to be either on this side of it or this side of it. It's tough to be in the gray area on this one. Either you're letting them show some peaceful form of protest and expression, or you're not. I don't see a gray area here. And the NBA passed a rule 25 years ago. And Adam Silver is wondering whether or not do we keep the rule on the books? Because if so, I have to enforce it. And it's going to be a tough thing to enforce in the bubble in 9 days. So that rule may come off the books. And I think that's what Mark Cuban is getting at. Kind of like, hey, we've talked about this as an NBA board of governors. And that was a certain time and place. That was the mid-90s. And now we're at a different time and place, and we've changed our thinking. Now, I have no idea if David Stern was still commissioner, whether or not he would change his thinking or not, or whether or not he'd roll with the times and go, hey, in 1995, I was against this. In 2020, we're going to do things a little differently. Okay, commish.
So that's all, David. I'm going to say everything that you said. I'm just going to take it as true. I just think that there's still one other little hiccup here that's coming for the sports fan that they're going to get upset with.
Well, here's another thing, which has been discussed, and we've discussed it, is whether or not we're even going to have anthems before sporting events. There are a lot of people in the international sports world who say, America is the only place where they play the anthem before every sporting event. That in the rest of the world, they play the anthem when it's
international competition.
Right, involving their country. Like if Australia is playing India in cricket, all right, then maybe you'd hear the anthem. But if it's just a normal cricket league match, there's no anthem. Two teams show up, game starts at noon, and by 12:02 they're playing. But if you're running the leagues nowadays, do you take the anthem? Come on, Mark. You and I are hockey guys. We love the anthem before games. The people who sing the anthem are legends in their town just for doing the anthem at basketball and hockey games, but particularly hockey.
I will say this, and I went back last October for the team that I worked for in Atlanta's 25th anniversary of winning the Turner Cup, the IHL championship. The same guy sang the anthem for us, for Rick, and I can't think of Rick's last name. But Rick was a friend of my boss's, and he was good. And team was Knights, so gave proof through the Knights.
Knights!
And 15,139 at the Omni would yell it. In fact, at the Atlanta soccer games in the MLS, they're still yelling it 25 years later. So, yes, David, to your point, Baltimore Oriole fan, tell me you don't like the anthem during the games. So, yes, David. And think about that for a second. Okay, we want to get rid of kneeling, so we remove the anthem for the game. People would freak out.
Right.
I mean, they would freak out.
Right. I mean, once again, Mark, I think there's two choices here if you're a league. Either you're going to let the athletes express whatever it is they want to express, as long as they do it in a peaceful and respectful way. And I'm sure we could debate what respectful is, but you know what I'm getting at. Or you're not. You're going to, U.S. Soccer Federation. We were surprised. It's one thing if in the MLS. I was surprised the U.S. Soccer Federation changed their tune. You know, when Megan Rapinoe was kneeling during the anthem in international competition a half dozen years ago, they passed a rule and said, yeah, you're going to stand for the anthem. You don't have to put your hand over your heart or what have you, but when you're representing the United States and the anthem's played, you're going to stand for it. And Megan and everyone else did. But in 2020, they relented and they said, not necessarily. Miller and Moulton. Ask the question at the top of the hour, why should we play football? It's a simple question. It can be a simple answer. It could be a complicated answer. And the implication in the question was besides money. Why should we play besides the money? 479-5551, Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. When we come back, Mark, with today was the day when. Make sure you take part in our poll question at millerandmoulton.com. Should we be playing high school football this year? Yes, in the fall. Yes, sometime thereafter, or no? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Thanks for listening. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Drive home with the Doug Gottlieb Show.
We shouldn't necessarily operate in this, there's only one thought. Even if you go to the NBA and what they're allowing players to put on the back of their jerseys.
Heckle Hyde, for the most part, I agree with you. It does turn off some people, though. I mean, I'll say this. I don't think it gets you a viewer, though. So if you're running a league, it is, you're usually in the business of not alienating viewers and season ticket holders. So why would you allow for something that is likely not to get you a fan?
I decided to give Babbel a try. And
I mean, I think Mark can back me up on this. Do we know of anyone who became a fan of a team or a league because they allowed the kneeling
Nope.
for the anthem?
About 10 to 15 minutes, and they're all really different.
Nope.
Interesting. The app is really smart. It actually keeps track of the words I'm struggling with.
But I agree with Mark Cuban in this sense. Hey, man, we've made a decision. And if we lose you, we lose you. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it was this morning. Trump already tweeting about kneeling for the flag. I mean,
well, he's got nothing else. So
that's because I'm sure Fox and Friends were talking about Ted Cruz and Cuban.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Which was quality material, by the way.
Now try Babbel free.
And it was good. It was solid.
Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years.
High school coach Rick pointing out the Yale Knights at UCF games. Yeah,
DRM Roofing.
absolutely.
239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Is your pool a pain to operate? Automation is the answer. Use your phone to turn on your spa, and it'll be warm when you get home. Free on-site evaluations. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool
Mark, I
service,
enjoyed the tweets yesterday for people making fun of Rutgers after the state of New Jersey announced their attendance policy, and then people saying, so now the Rutgers football season can start, per usual.
He's talking
Yep.
about right and wrong.
We back it up.
Talk about what you know.
We're Fox Sports Radio. And when we talk the talk,
Heckle Hyde, I do know a couple people who swore off the NFL 4 years ago because of the anthem thing. I do. Now, what I think is worth revisiting are there were some VFWs around the country that swore off the NFL 4 years ago, and do they still swear off the NFL? A couple of them I remember were in Ohio. They were big Browns places. You still not watching the Browns?
Well, the NFL numbers are right back to where they were. So everybody that left came back. But make no mistake, in the year of the last election, when Trump made this a big deal, they lost viewers.
Absolutely.
The numbers went way down.
Yep.
If you've got $500 down and you make
Yep.
at least $2,000 per month, you could be approved for new 2020 Kia Sportage Lease. Just $199 per month. That's right. A new SUV for $199.
A lot of concern in soccer circles. The MLS ratings are not good.
The product's not good, David. You tried watching it? It sucks.
I did, actually.
It's bad, man. I mean, I have now in the last 4 years tuned into Premier League pretty regularly, that I throw it on Sunday morning and just let it run. Not that I'm locked in for 2 hours, but when, you hear the voices go up, when the announcers, when a run's being made, and you look up and I'm watching some of the MLS the other night. And it was actually the most entertaining one. It wasn't LA. It was the game before the LA game the other night, and I think it ended up being 4-3. It's awful.
Miami lost the must-win, right?
Oh, yeah, they got shut out, didn't score a goal, I think. It's the worst start in the history of the MLS for a team.
What are they, 0-3?
Well, apparently there were 2 games before, because they went 0-5.
Wow.
I
don't know how many goals they've scored either.
it's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Rapidly approaching 10 minutes before 8 o'clock. Thanks for being with us on this Tuesday morning. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Pat Kerwin will join us coming up in about 35 minutes. We will talk the high school sports scene just after the top of the hour because, well, the powers that be, the decision makers, they're getting close to making a decision. Kind of have to. So whether or not they're going to be playing the sports, and if so, when? And that's our poll question. If you were in charge, you playing high school football this year? Yes in the fall, yes in the winter, or spring for that matter, because we say yes, but after January 1, or no. That's our poll question.
And right now, we're playing in the fall. 45% say we're playing in the fall, but 30% are saying not play at all. Moving it to J1 is the last idea of what folks want. But without any further ado, it is time now for
Miller and Moulton. Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Some fun stuff today, David. We start in 1853 when Central Park was created, when the New York State Legislature puts aside 750 acres of land on Manhattan Island. It is still remarkable when you go to New York City for the first time to see Central Park. It is just amazing, for lack of a better term. 1865, in the Market Square of Springfield, Missouri, Wild Bill Hickok shoots and kills Davis Tutt in what is regarded as the first true Western showdown. Aces and eights, baby.
I thought Market Square was an arena in Indianapolis. Who knew?
And when it started out Springfield, Missouri, I don't know how it didn't have either Homer or Bart Simpson in it. 1931, thank you, Reno, because it was the Reno racetrack, became the first in the U.S. to use daily double wagering. Who is that guy? Hey, I got an idea. How about if we have a bet if you pick the winner of the first two races? We'll call it the daily double.
Love it.
Pretty much a sucker bet that's really hard to win, because if you get one right, it's really hard to get the next one right.
And think about it. They came up with that idea during the Great Depression. That's a hard sell right there. Good job by that guy in Reno. He could sell ice to the Eskimos, Mark.
1957 at Miami Valley Golf Club, Lionel Herbert wins 2-1 from Dow Finsterwald. It was the last time that the PGA was played under the match play format.
Did you say 57?
Yes.
Okay.
1963, Jack wins his first of 5 PGAs, 2 shots ahead of David Reagan. 68, Julius Boros at 48 becomes the oldest winner of a major, winning the PGA at Pecan Valley Golf Club, 1 ahead of Arnie and Bob Charles.
Why? Think about that. We talked about it the other day. Sorry, Mark. Watson was 59 when he nearly won the British. Julius Boros, still to this day, 48, is the oldest major champion.
We mentioned yesterday we landed on the moon. It was today that we walked on the moon, because it was actually at about 3 in the morning that Neil Armstrong took that boot to the moon. I wanted to look up who the manager was, and I apologize because I forgot. We may have to find it at some point. But 1970, David, Clay Kirby, no for 8. He's lifted for a pinch hitter. Reliever Jack Balshan gives up 3 hits. Padres lose 3-0.
Oh, wow. So San Diego Padres manager in 1970?
Yeah.
I don't think they came into existence until 69. So I'm pretty sure that's their first ever manager. I'll look it up.
79, Sevy wins by 3 from Jack and Ben Crenshaw. Nicholas, the runner-up for a record 7th time.
Is that his first major, Sevy? 79 British?
Yes.
All right.
85, Andy Lyle wins the British, 1 ahead of Payne Stewart. 87, Appetite for Destruction is released. Becomes the best-selling debut album of all time. 1990, Pink Floyd, well, really Roger Waters, plays The Wall at the Berlin Wall. You can watch it on YouTube, and it's really good. Tom Lehman wins his only major, 96 British. And in 96, the great one signed a 2-year deal with your Rangers. That same day, The Daily Show premieres. Craig Kilborn, the original
That's right.
host.
He left ESPN. He left The Feel Good, as he used to call the late edition of SportsCenter. Craig Kilborn, Brett Haber, and The Feel Good.
And in 2013, Phil wins his 5th major at Murfield, winning the British. If you were born today, you share your birthday with Ernest Hemingway. And if that's the case, start drinking right now, just for the hell of it. Don Knotts, born today in 1924. Cat Stevens, born today in 1948. Al Robofsky, born today in 1949. The Mad Hungarian, baby. He's a favorite on this show, whether he knows it or not. Doug Collins and Robin Williams, both born today in 1951. Paul Casey is 43 years old, and CC Sabathia is 40.
And CeCe's lost a ton of weight. CeCe looks great.
He does. I mean, he's skinny. You might want to try to call yourself Skinny D, but he's skinny CC.
Yes, he is.
Looks terrific.
Out there shagging fly balls. He looks so good. They may put him on the active roster at some point. By the way, 1970 San Diego Padres lost 99 games. Preston Gomez, their manager.
Should have been 98. Made a bad move in that one. That's all I'm saying. And that is today was the day when on this July the 21st. We will switch gears coming up and do something we don't do very often on this show. Talk high school football. But the Florida State High School Athletic Association, in their infinite wisdom, decided we need practice on Monday. To hell with what the medical people are saying. What do they know? It's football, damn it!
See how long it lasts. We'll see how long it lasts. But that's their story, and they're sticking to it.
And David has asked the larger question, why?
Yes. Why? Why should we play football? You tell us. Why should we play? I mean, at some point, these leagues are going to have to answer that question, right? They're going to have someone here in the next however many days and weeks that are going to look at them or submit a question in which they go, why are you doing this? And is there any reason besides the money? And they better have a good one. And I think they do, but they've been unwilling to make it.
A couple have. A couple of coaches have said things, but not to the level of what David would like to see them say. We'll talk the high school football scene next. Miller and Moulton.
Hardee's presents the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger. It's just like the Western Bacon Cheeseburger with charbroiled beef, crispy bacon, and onion rings, and topped with tangy barbecue sauce.
Arch, I did that why not in my head in the Belushi. Why Pluto? Why not? I just kind of burped that at you, and I think that's the right answer.
Why are we using this?
Why play football? Why not play football?
Sound like this. Try the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary. Hardee's
I'm a big fan of Mark Cuban. I do think, though, Cuban in the NBA, this Hong Kong thing's a problem. Because it just makes them look like hypocrites. Right? And that's the worst thing you can look like. I mean, you can be a son of a bitch, but if you're a consistent son of a bitch, people, there's actually a part of that people will respect. I don't like them, but you know, when you want to be the social justice league, well, then you got to be the social justice league, and you can't be select about it.
We work for you.
You know how it works.
And yeah, it's going to cost you a lot of money. I don't know what to tell you. It's not easy. You know,
give you the information you need.
You're the guy. You know, I would look at him and go, "Hey, you're the guys. You know, you want to take this on. A lot of other leagues just want to play.
It's all for you.
You want to make statements. You know, I support you. Problem is, then you got to keep making statements.
Season right around the corner, Captain Pete's Diving Outfitters Giant 10 Sale couldn't come at a better time. This Thursday through Sunday at Captain Pete's, you can grab the best deals on regulators.
They did relent, by the way. You can get the free Hong Kong jersey. The next day.
Yeah, but you can't wear it. The player can't wear it. I can buy it, but LeBron can't get it on the back of his jersey.
Right, because the NBA only approved like 29 things that you can put on the back of your jersey.
Fan, that's a great question. I'm going to ask that question. That's a terrific question.
Strikes. We also have strikes. WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral.
Because every football coach is a teacher. It's a hell of a good question. If you can't see it, I'm curious how the Florida Education Association lawsuit will impact the availability of coaches who are teachers and union members. I think that's a terrific question, fan.
This is Adam.
Adam, good morning. Mark and David, how are you?
Great, guys. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Reeks, how you been?
Not too bad. You?
Hanging in there.
I'll bet.
So you up to date on everything from yesterday?
I listened to all 5 hours of the
Oh
meeting.
my God!
Oh wow, our condolences.
I'm glad for our show, but it's 5 hours of your life you can never have back. Huh.
Yep, very true.
Oh, Adam, you are come on, people. You in this room, anybody wants to knock the media in this room, Adam Regan had to do 5 hours of an FHSAA meeting. Tell me the media doesn't work. We don't, but the media works.
Hey, knock yourself out. Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
And at 2 minutes past 8 o'clock on this Tuesday, the 21st of July, thanks for starting your day with us, Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, where we stream at millerandmoulton.com and we broadcast live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Sign up for them. They're interactive, they're fun, and they are free. Pat Kerwin to join us to talk all things NFL in 25 minutes time. It's a pleasure to welcome back Adam Regan. He covers the high school sports scene for the News Press. Follow him on Twitter at NP_Adam Regan. Adam, top of the morning to you. Thanks for agreeing to do this. How are you?
Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it's our pleasure. And we found out during the break that, I don't know if we can get you a raise, but maybe we can get you a medal. So you and Dave LaRosa both took in all 5 hours of that FHSAA meeting yesterday. I'm telling you, somebody owes you a dinner, man.
Well, it wasn't just me and Dave LaRosa. It was 4,000 other people that were live streaming it on YouTube. There was a lot of interest, I guess.
I would almost, I don't think you could last and go through them all. The comments themselves must have been hysterical throughout. But Adam, give me the highlights of how this all went down. And inevitably, when the medical people are saying not start, what were the reasons that those who chose to not listen and start practice on Monday, what did that end up boiling down to? If you can compress that 5 hours as best you can.
Well, Mark, you brought up the sports medicine medical advisory committee, and they basically came out with a report that really wasn't distributed to some of the board members until Monday afternoon or so, but they basically said that high-risk sports like volleyball and football should be suspended indefinitely, and they discussed that report before they went through the motions to bring back high school sports, and really they were just saying, no, we'll take them as information, and we're going to move on to make the motions, which they did. And we're going to have high school sports practice on July 27th.
Which is Monday, obviously. And so now, Adam, there was a report out there, I think while this meeting was going on, someone who covers high school sports in the state said that there's word that there were 7 counties on the west coast of Florida that were talking about breaking away and doing their own thing if the vote went a certain way. A, were you familiar with that? And B, any of those counties ours?
I hadn't heard that. That was Bob Putnam, former preps writer for the Tampa Bay Times, who does his own thing now. That was the first I was hearing of it. I don't think that any of those counties are Lee or Collier County. I think today Lee and Collier County might be pretty happy that high school sports practices are starting July 27th and are probably very, very happy members of the FHSAA.
Really? So you think at the end of the day that Lee and Collier were in lockstep with the FHSAA yesterday?
I'm just going on what I've heard from many of the football coaches around Lee County and Collier County, that they're itching to go. They, think that the safety procedures are well thought out, and they've been working with them for the last couple of weeks. with conditioning and stuff like that, and I think they're ready to go.
Adam, what are these safety procedures? I mean, it almost sounds like an oxymoron. We're talking about football here. I mean, these are guys banging into one another, sweating on one another, breathing on each other. I mean, we had, I don't want to say some fun, but we made sure to point out a couple of weeks ago when the Raptors were in town at FGCU as to what the protocols were in place. They were not running up and down the court playing ball. There were no more than four guys on a court at a single time, and they all had their own ball and their own basket to shoot at. I mean, how is practice going to be normal? What procedures and protocols are in place?
The procedures and protocols that are in place are temperature checks every day before practice. Obviously, they have a list of questions they ask every single kid before they can actually set foot into the athletic facility. And I mean, that's really all they're doing for conditioning. I mean, they're staying 6 feet apart and everything like that, but you make a really good point, David, that, football, you're going to be hitting each other. Defensive linemen and offensive linemen are going to be, all on top of each other. And then that's not even talking about competition when you've got, 15 players in a dog pile, after a fumble.
All right. This question was asked by one of our listeners, and I'm going to give it to you to see if you have any thoughts on this, but there's a lawsuit by the Florida Education Association, and he simply asked, how will this impact the availability of coaches who are teachers and union members? That does seem to be a bit of a conflict right now, doesn't it?
I would say so. I would say if teachers aren't comfortable coming back to the classroom and the union is wanting to file a lawsuit, that just leaves more questions than I can really answer.
He's Adam Regan. He covers high school sports for the News Press. You can follow him on Twitter at NP_Adam Regan. When they were talking, was the concern the kids? Because there's a lot of data to say that, listen, if you're 18, 19 and under, there's not a lot of risk here. People have gone to great lengths saying that you're at more risk probably driving to practice than you are of getting the coronavirus and something bad happening to you at practice. But obviously, coaches are older. In some cases, a lot older. Officials, in many cases, are a lot older. I mean, how much were coaches and officials discussed? And did the FHSAA dip their toes in the fans and how many should be at the games question at all, Adam?
Well, it's funny you bring up officials, David. And obviously, down in this area in Southwest Florida, we've had some, the officials striked before last season, but officials were not brought up at this meeting. They weren't mentioned until about 3 hours into the meeting, and it was only brought up maybe twice. So no, I don't think officials were really considered during this board meeting. During the 3 task force meetings, there was an official who represented it, who basically said that we need to have statewide safety protocols put into place before my guys can go out there on the sidelines. And as you said, those are older people that are more at risk. And I don't think coaches were brought up either. One of the guys driving the train to get high school sports practicing next week was a football coach, Bobby Johns, from up in the Panhandle. He's the one that made the successful motion that was accepted. So I didn't really hear any discussion about football coaches. There was a lot of talk about athlete safety. Chris Patrica from down here in Southwest Florida, who's a school board member in Lee County, asked Jennifer Maynard, who's a doctor for the Mayo Clinic and is the chair of the Sports Medicine Advisory Council, if athletes who contract COVID are at risk of bringing it into the school, which the schools are in a big thing where they're trying to figure out the best way to bring kids back into the school safely. So that was a big discussion, and it really had no bearing on the decision to bring back high school sports. I think that really what was driving the train was, that the calendar is what it is. They provided some flexibility to teams that won't be able to start on time. I think they were kind of really talking about South Florida, Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade County. They're giving them a little flexibility. If they don't start on time, they're given the option to play regular season games all the way up through the end of the state series. They can opt out of the state playoffs and get play regular season games.
All right. Was there, and I'd kind of read this, and you listened to the whole thing. Was there any talk of the financial implications to athletic departments in the NFL and in college football? I mean, we know how much football drives, the money train drives this. Was that at all any part of the discussions?
It was brought up that football basically drives the budget for every school's athletic departments. The non-revenue sports are basically funded by football and by the gate, and there was talk about losing games and therefore losing money in athletic budgets. So yes, that was considered.
Was there talk of shortening the schedule in any way, shape, or form? Because we're hearing that in college football, where some conferences have canceled non-conference games. So a 12-game season could be anywhere from 8 to 9 or maybe 10. Is there any talk about that with high school sports, or getting rid of non-district games, and then this way you've got, say, 9 or 10 weeks to schedule your 5 or 6 games? Was any of that brought up?
Not across the board in the state. I think the main thing people need to understand is, Florida is a very big state. I mean, there are different areas all over the place, some that are hard hit by this and some that aren't. Really, what the FHSA board is trying to do is give every single school and school district the flexibility. So there are some schools that may play only 6 games. There are some school districts that may play 10 games, but there's nothing across the board saying that we're going to shorten the season to 8 games, or we're going to shorten the season to 7 games, and then we're going to go to the playoffs.
Adam, was there any talk of, I get that they're going to take temperatures when they come in, but we also have a lot of people, and particularly when we're talking about young people who are asymptomatic. Is there any talk of testing? And I'm guessing probably no because of money, but was it at least brought up that these athletes might need to be tested, or is that not at all being discussed?
Really, the only thing I heard about testing was during the fall sports task force meetings, the 3 before this board meeting was called, and that came from the gentleman who was representing the officials who wanted that. And obviously, nobody was thinking about how much money it is to test all of these athletes throughout the state. But yeah, that's the only thing I've heard of it, and I don't think it's feasible financially to do it. And I mean, I think that's a problem.
Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. The local school boards and districts, they have the authority to make whatever decision they want, right? The FHSAA may say, hey, you're allowed to start practice on Monday. You're allowed to go forward season as usual. But locally, just like the governor's office said, hey, school's going to start on time 5 days a week. And locally, school boards are like, well, okay, appreciate the suggestion. We're going to take it under advisement. They can do the same thing for sports, right? Lee, Collier, Charlotte counties don't have to start the season on time. They don't have to play a full schedule, right? They can do whatever they want.
Yep, they can do whatever they want. And I would say probably about 5 minutes after the board meeting concluded, the Orange County Public School District said, there's no way we're practicing on July 27th. It's not happening. So that's an example right there. Individual school districts and individual schools are, private schools are going to decide when they practice, and it's not going to be up to the FHSAA, and that's the way the FHSAA wants it.
All right, there's another meeting next week. What do you see, if anything, happening from that? Anything that you could surmise from last night's meeting when they get back together, the odds of a delay of the season?
That I can't give you. I know that a big point of contention in that meeting that's coming up is going to be the Sports Medicine Advisory Committee report that a lot of the board members didn't get a chance to digest before this meeting. So with the FHSAA, and from what I witnessed last night in this 5-hour board meeting, I think anything is possible. But from everything I've seen, and that's going off of comments made by Executive Director George Tolman, who really wants to stick to the sports calendar, if I was putting my money on it, I would say that practice is going to be happening on Monday.
Adam, appreciate your time. Sorry you had to sit through that 5-hour meeting. All right, my goodness. All right, get a steak dinner out of it or something. You know, I'd submit a receipt, to be honest with you. I don't know if GoodNet will pay for it, but I'd submit something.
I'll do my best. I'll see what I can do.
Okay,
Dave, I'll need you to be a reference for me on that one.
Absolutely. We've got tape. We'll back you up. All right.
Appreciate it.
We'll initial a receipt. I mean, you know, we forged a few in our day. We can forge one for you.
Nice.
Thanks. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Adam. Adam Regan.
Take care, guys.
News Press, news-press.com. Follow him on Twitter, NP_Adam Regan. I thought I saw something yesterday where the end of this week, I think, is when the Lee County School Board has, you know, their big powwow.
Yeah, Thursday. That's for school. Because the superintendent yesterday, I believe, because I get everything texted to me right away, Dr. Atkins is recommending delaying the start of school until August 24th or August 31st. The school board will make a final decision in a special meeting on Thursday. I received that text at 5:15 last night.
Those that have sent in questions, you know, wondering about, you know, coaches. Here's my experience. Coaches coach, in which literally, unless their doctor says, this is not a good idea for you. Coaches coach. I mean, you know, my mother, who's listening and watching on our Twitch TV channel, thanks, Mom, sent in a text to say, hey, even in Jersey, when we struck, the coaches coached. I mean, the teacher part of them may not be showing up to work, okay, but the coach part of them still coached. Showed up after quote-unquote school for practice and coached during games, even while they were on strike.
And it's been my experience just throughout life with youth coaches. And I have the utmost respect for 99.9% of them because they sacrifice a lot of time. They don't make anything, and they do it out of love. They truly do. But David's 100% right. The only thing they care about is coaching, whether it's hockey, football, golf, baseball, girls softball. It doesn't matter.
We'll be interested. Let's just walk through this hypothetical. Let's just say in Lee County, they push school back 3 weeks. I believe the high school football season starts the Friday before the Monday in which school is supposed to start. Now, just
like
because
the 28th of August would be the first Friday night lights, if you will, right?
I think it is.
I'm pretty sure.
I think the quote-unquote jamboree, with their preseason game, is on the 21st. But I thought the 28th was the first Friday of the high school football season. So that would bring an interesting situation. Would we play high school football in Lee County before we held a class? Now, this happens in college football all the time, and nobody seems to bat an eye. But I'm just wondering if that were to happen. Because I'm guessing, I'm going to go out on a limb, that if school gets pushed back, that sports won't. That's my guess. My guess is that actually they'll be like, well, actually practice has never been safer because we don't have school. That's my guess. Could be wrong. They could push sports back as well.
Yeah, that is from what I'm looking at, because I'm looking at North Fort Myers' schedule right now. I see a couple. I don't know which one of the jamborees, though, because they start playing the 14th, according to this. But I'm guessing that's the jamboree. So I think you're right on with that, David. I think you're right on.
So if school gets pushed back, will sports also get pushed back with it? I'm not so sure about that. It does lead into our poll question today. your thoughts on the high school football season, and should it take place normally in the fall? Should it be pushed back? And we said push back post January 1. Or should it not happen at all? That's our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter, millerandmoulton.com. For the record, and I'm fairly consistent about this, I have wanted to push the high school football season in Florida back for just about every day that I've lived here. I feel the first half of the season is nothing but rain and thunderstorm and lightning delays. And if there was a way, and there isn't, because you can't have seasons overlap that much, I've suggested they play Saturday mornings until October, till around Columbus Day, and then finish the season playing on Friday nights for the heat and the lightning and all that. And every time I wrote it in a column, I got laughed at and mocked. But
that's why I'm not talking now, because I'm not going to do that anymore.
Right. You can.
No.
You've done it before.
I'm done.
But how about this? And it's not going to happen, obviously, although you would think if it was possible to happen, it would be in a coronavirus year. And Pat Kerwin coming up in a moment. But if I suggested to you, let's switch the basketball and football seasons in the state of Florida for a variety of reasons. Is it crazy? Does it have some merit?
I said to you before, I think the one thing that would happen is the top 50 to 75 players in Florida would then not play football because they would already be in college. Florida's that good of a state in football. There are that many early enrollees that I think come from Florida schools. So you'd lose some really good players. Other than that, David, colleges would adjust to signing players, and they've pretty much already signed the guy anyhow. So, no, I don't think it's nuts. I know it'll never happen.
Right. I know it won't either. Miller and Moulton. Another one of our ideas that just will never happen.
Never.
And that's really a fitting way to introduce our next guest, Pat Kerwin, who has shot down our crazy ideas for the better part of 12 years here on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
You can't watch baseball while driving. Mowing, running, walking, fishing.
Hey, come on, Twitch chat room. All the questions you guys fired, we asked. Come on now. Got to give us a little credit for that.
Baseball,
we're listening to you.
See the game on the radio.
Where stance so still at the plate
when the Marlins play. Now the pitch. Get the play-by-play.
You got to lighten up, Francis.
On Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, home for Miami
Tuesday's the day you're up at like 4 a.m.
People often ask me, how did you grow my shower door so big and so fast?
Probably starving.
But the answer is we didn't. What we did is we took our family business, we hired great talent, trained our staff, and developed our product. Now, after 17 years, my shower door has 8 frameless shower door showrooms with our newest.
I don't know why more people
don't like my
If you're looking for a
frameless shower door company
idea,
that you can trust and research, and you want to see more, go to myshowerdoor.com.
Man.
Summer clearance event going on
Friday
now
night
at
lightning
Galliana
delays,
Chrysler Dodge
the
Jeep
heat
Ram.
involved on a
Lowest
Friday
prices
night.
ever on over 1,500 new and certified pre-owned vehicles.
I mean, it doesn't start to get hot till like 11 o'clock. You
Loaded
can play 9
luxurious
a.m.
Grand
games,
Cherokee
10
limited
a.m.
lease,
games.
$279 per month. New Ram Bighorn
not
Crew Cab
ideal,
lease,
but
just $299 per month.
you
That's
wouldn't have a lot of rain and
award-winning
lightning,
Ram
I'll
trucks,
tell you that.
$299 per month. Plus at
Play
Galliana
about half a
Chrysler
season
Dodge
on
Jeep Ram,
Saturday
you can
mornings.
drive payment-free for 3 months.
The
Interest
biggest
for 7
obstacle
years.
I heard about this idea was people saying, yeah, with the system the way it's set up now, that's Pop Warner time.
Featuring Ram Bighorn Crew Cabs for $299 per month at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-20.
Miller and Moulton fan, Lake Norman, North Carolina. That's all I see from you there. I don't know what that's in response to. My chat room refreshes. It sucks. I'm on the Twitch app, and it's just.
Tim Meister, owner of the Four Meisters in Naples.
Mark's got the computer screen. He sees all of your responses. I get bits and pieces.
Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Sucks for
right
me.
Now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tech that you have. You also have other Core-Tech products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tech Stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tech.
You know, if you think about it, Mark,
quietness, and the easy
let's just say they voted the way they did because that's what everybody's preconceived notions were coming into that meeting yesterday. And they didn't have time to read the report and all that.
Yeah, I mean, why would you read?
You really owe it to yourself to
Well, but if they only got it like when the meeting started, let's just say they voted the way that they were going to vote when they woke up in the morning.
That's floormeisters.com.
But three of the 10 if 3 of the 10 change their mind a week from now, then they have a completely different vote. Now, I doubt that any of the 10 will, but in theory, you only got to convince 3.
Or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts on parts for all your Kubota products and 0% interest on all new Kubota products. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
Now I don't know, Arch.
2020. See us or go to
KubotaUSA.com
for more information.
Yeah, I think I'm on Apple. I think that's where I downloaded it.
You're on an iPhone, David, yes.
Hello, Mark.
Yeah. Morning, Pat.
How are you doing, boys?
We're doing all right. How are you?
High school football in Florida.
Holy, we just did it. We just did 20 minutes on it.
Yeah.
Doctor from the Mayo Clinic said, no way you should play. 10-5, we're playing.
Yeah. Hey, they'd rather play football than go to school down there.
Oh! Don't kid yourself. We're going to school, too, at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, no. We're going.
In order that the best players are available on Friday nights, they're not having a 10 class. Well, not that they ever did a 10 class before anyway.
No, they're homeschooled. They're Tebow.
Well, Pat, I told the example of how, my mom was in a teachers union for 35 years. And when they struck, all right, the coaches still coached.
Here we go, guys.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Oh, just lost Pat.
You're live.
At 28 minutes past 8 o'clock, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream this show every day, millerandmoulton.com. That's where you go to vote in our poll question, which today is one of those rare local sport questions. We're asking you, what should they do with the high school football season? Play it normally, push it back a few months, or not play it at all? That is our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Pat Kerwin, kind enough to join us once again for his weekly chat here as training camps are about ready to get underway. Pat, how are you? And are you at all surprised that training camps as of now have not been delayed?
Yes, I am. I just thought and look, the union and the league can get together and knock all these things out and have contingency plans. They don't tell us all the facts. I'll give you an example. So they're going to test every day. But I talked to 2 doctors yesterday that said you can't really count on having those results back every day. So if I test all the players on Monday and on Tuesday at 9 a.m. when I want to go out on the practice field, the results aren't in, do I cancel practice? Do I postpone practice? What do I do about that? When a guy fails, the people around him, I asked the doctor this yesterday, he's a team doctor. It said, so 2 offensive linemen failed. Do we have to quarantine the guys we know he was with all day, the other linemen? Well, I don't know about that. So they're still implementing the system. It sounds great. We're going to test every day for 2 weeks. That's going to be about 60,000 tests for 2 weeks. What's the public pressure going to be when, let's say you, David, I'll use you. You go and you need to have a test and you think there's something wrong, and they tell you, well, we can't get the results back to you for 3 days. But you know damn well that the NFL team in your neighborhood is getting their results back today, right away. So what's the public pressure going to be on that stuff? And one of the doctors thought that would be a problem and that they would have some issues with that. And the other part is football's non-essential. So at the end of the day, there are going to be grievances, and then there might even be lawsuits against the clubs because someone's going to say they can prove you weren't following full procedures. And I also know that, as I've said on this show before, most of the buildings are not built for the kind of spread out. So when I hear they've taken out 2 lockers between each person, so David's in a locker, 2 empty lockers, Mark's in a locker, 2 empty lockers, Pat's in a locker, who has the room for that with 90 players? So there are issues that still have to be resolved. It's one thing to say we're going to have our meetings outside. Are we changing outside? Are we eating lunch outside? I go to every facility, and lunch, breakfast, and sometimes even dinner, if it's served, has always been buffet. But it's not going to be buffet anymore. So how are they going to handle that? Apparently, all the players are getting an app on their phone, so they're going to call in and say, "Hey, get me 2 hot dogs or something." So that's going to take time, and then they have to pick up the lunch. Where are they going to eat that lunch? Are they ready for the team? There's a million things. Forget the dress rehearsal of preseason games. The dress rehearsal of practicing and testing every day is going to be problematic, and we'll see if the players understand we're all trying to do this right, or are they going to file a grievance after grievance? Is the team union rep going to be calling the union 8 times a day? I don't know, but I anticipate those kind of issues.
Boy, Pat, and I know there's no way to try to even guesstimate the number of grievances and things like that are going to be filed, but the one thing you've kind of always alluded back to is that as we get closer to the season, players realize they're going to start missing paychecks. So how do you I don't know, handle that fine line between filing a grievance and making sure once September comes, I get paid 16 times?
They'll end up getting paid. If we play one game, they're all going to get paid. Now, a couple things that are going to happen here with the new structure of the rules. So everyone keeps 53 players. Most teams are going to average, and some will be more, some will be less, 2 to 3 on injury reserve. So there's 55 to 56. Then the 16-man practice squad, which 6 of them can be veterans. So when you go to camp with 90, you already know you're keeping 71 to 72 players. So you're only cutting 18, and we got to figure certain guys will get hurt that you're not going to put on IR. You'll do a settlement and get them out of here. And then certain guys are going to be, quarantined right around the end of camp. So you're going to camp and keeping just about everybody. That's what it's going to turn into, one way or the other. And so, how much, I guess the real question I'd have is how much are you going to be looking at other rosters as they cut guys? Remember now, they're only cutting 18 guys. So how many guys are going to be out there that you'd swap out one of your players after 6 weeks at camp? So my suspicion is not many of them, but I do think the guys that are still available, Logan Ryan as an example, tremendous example, those guys are going to get signed up in the next 2 weeks or so. People are going to realize I need the player and I need to spend whatever it is. Enough guys have cap space. The player's been holding out. Logan wants $10 million a year. He'll probably settle for $7 or $8 million a year and come in just in time to start getting paid.
He's Pat Kerwin of CBS's NFL Today show. Moving the chains weekday afternoons on NFL Radio. Pat joins us once again courtesy of Pinchers. From Tampa to Key West and many points in between with 8 locations in Southwest Florida. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, from either what you're hearing or your gut feeling, knowing both sides pretty well, the NFL and the NFLPA in terms of opting out, how do you think they're going to resolve that? I think we can all assume guys are not going to get paid if they opt out, but they're going to want their service time. Will the NFL give that? Like Major League Baseball gave that to the players. They don't pay you, but they give you your service time. Do you think the NFL will agree to that?
I think they'll have a hard time agreeing to that. They'll have great respect. Hey, I understand why you don't want to play. I get it. You're going to opt out, but that's your decision, and you understand the ramifications. I think the league is kind of grudgingly given into a lot of things here, but I knew they had to, and they knew they had to. I don't think they have to give into that. I would love to see them do it for the sake of the players, but but the guy who owns a player that's going to become free next year because I gave him and granted him a year and I didn't get his services for that year to A, appreciate what I have, B, evaluate him. I don't think they're going to go for that. So every club will think about, hey, let's not do that. I want to get a year of that guy before he becomes free. So that group alone is probably going to force him not to want to do that or just do it. So I don't think they're giving into so many other things, no preseason games, expanded practice squads, all that business, testing every day for 2 weeks. And I don't think they're going to give into that one. I don't know. Would you guys give into that if you owned a team or a general manager of a team?
No, I wouldn't want to. I put it this way. I'm not paying someone who's not playing. That's first and foremost. That just seems to make the most sense. I'm being a little hypocritical because I've looked at like teachers and the same thing. If there's a teacher who's 60 or 58 years old or 62 years old who says I don't want to go and they're a couple years away from retirement, I don't know how we could not give them a year of service, but I don't think you should pay him. Football's scarier because you're working on year-by-year contracts or 3-year contracts, and you can't just let someone out of a contract when they don't play.
And I just, you set up your financial structure knowing how many years guys need to become free, and you start realizing that with just one franchise tag or transition tag, which is not used very often, you could land up bottled up with more than one guy. And so I would be voting, if I was a GM, I'd be voting against giving them the year of service. And I think a lot of GMs will. It's going to come back to haunt them anyway, because you saw that the Giants and Jets, until further notice, aren't going to have any fans, and that's going to happen all over the country. And they're all going to get hit with the cap problem next year. So negotiating, spreading out that cap problem, boy, you know what the union wants, and I know what some of the owners want, and some of the league guys want. So do I give into that and spread it out over 6 or 7 years? They want 10, I want 2. Sounds like 5 or 6 is the number. Do I do that and give them a year of service? The league has to protect themselves. These teams drafted these guys, paid them, and they want to retain their services. And if you force me into giving them a free year, and then I got to battle for them in the world of free agency, I think somewhere along the line the club has to draw the line, and that's where I would draw the line. So I will be pursuing that question when I start rambling on with some of my GM friends. So they don't have to. Well, they really probably have to make a statement soon that, hey, we're not doing that, and let the players decide if they're going to play or not.
Well, the other thing they're going to have to decide is, like, let's just say Lawrence, the defensive lineman from the Cowboys, he's talking about opting out. Well, is that $20 million still going to count against the cap for the Cowboys, or does that come off the books? Because obviously, then if it comes off the books, they can go get
come off the books next year.
So it won't come off the books this year?
I don't believe it will. I think it'll come off the books next year. Because he was on the roster when the league year started in March, David, and he was on the roster when we passed June 1st. And we have a lot of ways to use June 1st, not to complicate it for your listeners. But my opinion is that the money won't be paid and that they'll get a cap helper next year. Usually that's how that works. You get the relief if it's after June 1st. So, the league, they have a CBA. They can't just say, hey, I want my cap relief now. So I don't think it'll go that way. I think they'll get it next year. It doesn't really matter to me. They might love it next year, honestly. Okay, the cap goes down $30 million for, I'm just using a number. But we're getting Lawrence's 20 back in space. So maybe that's a good thing.
Pat, back to the preseason. I know we're not doing it this year. It's kind of two questions. One, how close were they to doing one game? Because it seemed to be some of the bottom-end roster players thought they needed the film. And two, how difficult is it going to be? And I know it's a pandemic year, but, Roger Goodell doesn't want preseason games. None of us want preseason games except for owners and general managers. How likely is, after the 2020 year, a revamped preseason going to happen in 2021?
Yeah, a couple points to address your questions. Number one, the low rank and file college free agents and low draft picks, no one's asked them because no one cares. So they're not even a voting member of that. And, oh, you wanted to be on film. Okay, go to Canada. They'll film you all summer. Oh, that's right. They don't have football either. So luckily you'll make it or not. As I said, they're only releasing 18 players, maximum. And it might be more like 12 players. So with the expanded practice squad, and some teams anticipating real cap problems, either now or next year, keeping low-wage guys is important. I'm breaking down linebackers starting today, and it's amazing how many teams already that I've done 4 divisions, that right behind their starters are just flat-out college free agents and 7th-round draft picks. And they'll make the team, and they'll run down on kickoffs and play 250 special teams plays. So they don't count. No one cares about that. I think the question that you asked, though, hopefully we'll get to the right answer. 2 preseason games going forward. Coaches really don't have a vote in this either. And this dress rehearsal nonsense, it's a moneymaker for the owners. That's what it really is. The starters don't play. And they went from 4 to 2, and then when they went from 2 to 1, that lasted about a day and a half, and then 1 went to 0. So I do think, Mark, they'll just come back and have 2. There'll be coaches fighting for a 3rd one. 3 doesn't make any sense. 2 on the road, 1 at home, 1 on the road, 2 at home. It's, to me, if you said the 3rd preseason game will be in a non-NFL city, we used to do it all the time. We played in Montreal, Columbia, South Carolina, somewhere in Jackson, Mississippi, and we actually made some money doing that. Now, if you said the 3rd game is going to be an NFL promotional deal and we're going to just go to non-NFL cities, yeah, you might get some interest in that, but I don't think we're ever going back to 4.
Pat, do you think the Redskins are the Redskins this year?
That's a great question. I'm going to have to start finding myself once they have a new name. But since they don't have a name at all right now, technically, I call them the Redskins. Most of my callers call them the Redskins. You just called them the Redskins. It took me 2 years to break the Charger habit. I couldn't get out of San Diego.
Don't even get me started, Pat. I still make a mistake here and there.
San Diego there, Mark. San Diego. Come on.
I'm about $1 a week guy on that one still.
Yeah. Here's a 10. The next 2 weeks it looks bad.
Right.
I like to pay in advance when I know I'm going to be on.
Yep.
As soon as we start talking about the AFC West, it's coming out of my mouth, your mouth, and most of the fans' mouths. The Redskins, I don't know. I think what's going to happen is they're going to come up with a name very shortly, and no one's going to like it, and they're going to have to live with it. And it's going to be mainly because it's an NFC East team. This is right up your alley, David. Long history, and the fan base, in my opinion, tends to be older, more traditional. The Cowboys, the Giants, the Eagles, the Redskins. And those fans they're not going to like whatever they come up with. And then they're going to leak out all the other options, and of course they'll be thinking one option was better than the other. It's just. As I said, it's time to just move on. If I get hung up on all that stuff and all the politically correct stuff, I probably would have to just quit myself.
I just wondered whether or not you thought they would make the change before the season, or because I actually believe that Snyder's going to want to play one final year and sell stuff and what have you. I that's just my thought that he will drag this out.
I think you're right. I think you're 100% right, because the stuff will sell like crazy and nostalgia takes over and all that business. But I don't think the league and the political climate really are going to permit that to happen.
Okay.
Well,
but I'm with you. I'd like to just, the battle was fought right before the start of the season. Doesn't mean you have to react right away, but I think the pressure, you and I talked about, the three of us talked about the nerve of Nike, actually thinking and I guess they do have the power to say, we're not going to sell your stuff. I would have been furious if I was a commissioner. But
Pat, when we talk next week, training camps will have opened. What should be the fans' biggest concern between now and next week?
Well, I think there's boredom coming first, right? So think about it. They're going to have this week of conditioning thing. So I'm just penciling down dates. July 27th to August 15th. We're just going to be lifting weights and running around and getting used to being in the facility. Then August 16th to the 25th, it sounds like you're going to have your non-padded practice. And then August 26th to September 8th, you're going to squeeze in, I don't know, maybe 10 practices and pads, and then they're going to kick off. So I think the first thing I'd say to fans is don't get too excited. You're probably not going to hear much about football, real football, for a while. And then you're going to, get a flash of it. And then before you know it, we're going to be at games. And colleges do it all the time. They don't play preseason games. I love when guys tell me, well, the college product in late August, early September is not very good. It's all relative. I can tell you that the NFL product's not what it used to be. Who tackles anymore? Come on. Who blocks like they used to? Who's even in a three-point stance? So I don't think we'll notice much of a difference because all the teams, just like the colleges, and I love when guys say, well, the colleges, they play the weak sisters of the floor. And that's not true. A lot of teams, there's some heavy matchups, David. You probably cover them. They're not all over the country, but there's some big games right away. And you're playing with 18-year-olds half the time, which leads me to a question to you guys, not in the state of Florida since you're going to launch football, but if you're in New York or any state that has a Division I prospect and you cancel football and you're going to play high school football in the spring, which I think is going to happen in a bunch of states, if my son was a recruit, he wouldn't be playing high school football in the spring. He would graduate this fall, whether it was on Zoom or in a school, and he would be on that college campus in January. He would not be playing high school football and jeopardizing his chance for the Division I scholarship. He's already been off. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Said the same thing a half hour ago, Pat. The exact same thing. David said, what if we did it in Florida? I said, well, then the top 50 to 100 players in Florida wouldn't play high school football. They'd all be enrolled in college.
Yeah, and I think that's the way this is going to go. And I found it interesting that the NFL, suspended the supplemental draft this year. Because the next follow-up question is the same thing. You're a college guy that decided to stay and play, but you could get a diploma out of the place and jump into the supplemental draft, and all of a sudden they cancel the supplemental draft. Always wonder if there's a way, if they were interested in preventing those kids from going off to college early, but I don't think they can. They've been going at January for years. I think they're going to jump out and go. How does the Florida kid feel when he knows he's got to play fall football and other states where the top prospects aren't playing? Does he feel better about that or worse?
I'd feel better. I think I have a chance to showcase myself if I don't have an offer in my hip pocket. If I do have an offer in my hip pocket, we've talked about for years, we'd have our kids at IMG and Bradenton working out, but that's a whole other story. Pat, look forward to talking to you next week. Stay safe. Be well.
Be good, guys. I'll talk to you very soon.
Pat Kerwin of NFL Radio, moving the chains, weekday afternoons with Jim Miller. Brought to you every week courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers with 8 locations of Southwest Florida. Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. The good, the bad, and the ugly as we say goodbye on this Tuesday, the 21st of July. Thanks for listening, Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
I think the NBA is a house of cards. I think baseball is a house of cards.
Pat, Mark took the words right out of your mouth.
And I think it's that tenuous. I know
he was meatloaf.
Collateral damage here. You're gonna have
he meatloafed you.
Test positive. Some may get sick. Coaches.
Great minds think alike there, Mark.
Well, I don't know if they're great, but
the Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
It's Fred Kobe with your
So
Kobe
Michael
Quartet.
Bennett just retired.
People ask me all the time, what's the best air conditioner?
Good player.
My clear answer is the right system for the right reasons. I also prefer American.
I thought he
made
still had a little
products,
something in the
which
tank
really
last year
are
when he.
choices. When you invest in our Florida Reserve private brand,
Who did he
it's
end
made
up with? The
completely
Cowboys?
in the United States. It supports American jobs and meets the United States standards. It has a 10-year parts and labor no-hassle policy, and it's only available through Kobe Cooling. We set a higher standard, and we're proud to lead the way. The best is easy to spot. Kobe Cooling's Florida Reserve, made in the USA. When you think of air conditioning companies, we hope you'll think of Kobe Cooling. No nonsense and no pressure. We're the company your neighbors use. License CACO 57313. Kobe, the most trusted name in the business since 1949, serving Southwest Florida for almost 70 years.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau,
Ooh.
owner of D.R. Martineau
Baseball
Roofing,
over-unders.
Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27
Oh.
years. We operate
Give it to
with
me.
Integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
He's going over. Joe Osborne, whoever he is going over 27.5 for the Blue Jays. The Red Sox is at 30.5.
Our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their
I think I'd go under.
That's what he did. He went under on them. The Pirates at 25.5. The Angels at 32. The D-backs at 31.5. And the White Sox at 32.5.
I'll go over on the D-backs.
Thought you would.
They won 86, 87 games last year, and they got better. I had Bumgarner.
No, I got you. The White Sox one's intriguing to me. 32.5. I don't know how I could go over that. I don't know how I think the Chicago White Sox are gonna.
People are. That is the Kool-Aid team.
I know,
this
but
week.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I will say this, Mark. Did you see the TV rating for the White Sox preseason or whatever you call it game? Highest rating that they've had for a game in like 7 years.
Receiving over.
So the whole people are bored and people are jonesing for it. Do you panic when someone says we need to talk? Well, here the White Sox and Padres are very interesting. A lot of good young talent, but is it ready? Having the freedom to enjoy a more flexible lifestyle, France Eye Care wants to offer you $1,000 the savings that will allow you to celebrate better vision and a better life. Dr. Jonathan France and his expert team of surgeons want to help you see your future in 2020 through the advanced technology of laser vision correction. So what if you've been told you're not a candidate for LASIK? Did you see Jeff Butera's picks?
I did not. He wouldn't tell me who he thought won the debate, so I'm done with him for at least 24 hours.
He picked the Dodgers to beat the Rays in the World Series. Picked the Rays to win the East. Yanks to make it as a wild card. Did not pick his Cubs to make the playoffs. And picked the Cardinals to be the wild card. Reds to win the division.
And it'll be warm when you get home. Free on-site evaluations. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing
And didn't pick the Astros to make the playoffs.
For award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com.
And I think picked the White Sox as a wild card team.
574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
From the best headlines,
The best.
to the worst.
It's the worst thing that ever happened to anybody ever.
Prepare yourself and hide the women and children. This is Mark Miller's Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
For the good today, we go to Martin County, where this pretty nice thing, where a lady, well, her fridge broke. She didn't have the money to fix it, so she called 911. Usually you can get arrested for that, but she was an elderly lady. She didn't know what to do. When the officers arrived, they reminded her that 911 is for real emergencies only, but they decided to check what they could do for her. the officers went and bought Cheryl a gently used refrigerator at a local Goodwill and had it delivered to her house. Good job by the police there. For the bad, every day I have found a couple websites where I can watch people freaking out with masks. And sometimes it makes me laugh. Sometimes it really gets me concerned with civilization on the whole. But this California woman was really upset about the mask wearing rule when she was trying to get a phone at the Verizon store. So she did what we would all do. Dropped her pants and peed on the floor. Yep, that's right. She took a number one and told Verizon what they thought of them. She ended up getting arrested. Not much of a shock there. Finally, the ugly. It's bad enough that people have not had jobs and coronavirus has wreaked havoc on everyone, but those in Arizona apparently can't get enough hand sanitizer. Why use it on your hands when you can drink it and get drunk? Since May, 4 people have died and 26 people have been hospitalized in Arizona from drinking hand sanitizer. Wow. Leading us to the final question that we ask very often in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You can't fix stupid. And that is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly on this July the 21st in the year 2020.
Drinking hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
I mean, of all the things to improvise with, drinking hand sanitizer.
Right. Mouthwash must not have been available, David.
Wow. Man, this coronavirus is really affecting us. Would love to know the normal number of deaths from drinking hand sanitizer. Is it plus or minus in Arizona, what they're going through?
There is a hell of a question that we'll break down on tomorrow's show.
7 o'clock hour tomorrow. Look forward to that. Make sure you take part in our poll question. The local high school football season, should it go on schedule? Should it go on but a little bit later? Or should it not happen this year?
Right now, we're playing football in Florida because that's what we do. Miller and Moulton.
Looking for a frameless shower door?
Okay, you guys have a good day. I'll be here tomorrow.
All right, Gerald, thank you.
Conveniently located in Cape
Thank you.
With more than 75,000.
You're right, Trenton. My buddy in Michigan has a company, makes his own booze, and they gave all kinds of alcohol to the hospitals for hand sanitizer. Hundreds upon hundreds of gallons.
Just been named as Lee County's manufacturer of the year.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.